This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Media Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to see plenty of podcasts from our great friends. And if you would like to start your own podcast, they will provide you with all the tools and resources to do so there. So please head to aratemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan?
On with the...
Yeah, no one heard that. You peeked the shit out of that mic. But that's fine. Welcome to the Spook parentheses. Ooh. Of the moment.
Parentheses E of the moment podcast.
Hey, we did it! We did it! High five! Yeah, we nailed it. We actually managed to synchronize. Oh my god. Take that in. That's the moment. Mark it. Mark it on today's show. On today's show.
On today's violent show.
On today's show.
Spur of the Spook parentheses E moment podcast.
David Schwimmer is in Goosebumps, apparently. What is the name of the new Freaky Friday movie?
He's the guy from Friends, right?
Yes. There is the new Big Bang Theory spinoff. Henry Cavill is going to be in Voltron. McDonald's is doing a Friends Happy Meal. And, Jordan, I'm sad to report, today will be the final installment of our long-running bit that everyone loves, that everyone supports. What's going on with Velma? Today will be the final edition.
There will no longer be anything going on with Velma.
There will no longer be anything going on with Velma. We'll get there
until her next horrible iteration, which will ruin the franchise.
We'll get there. But let's start off with I love this play. He was busy, but we were maybe gonna have one of the Goosebumps crew guys come on. They are exceptionally busy this month, so I totally get it.
Yeah, they're talking to a way more famous guy, the angry video game nerd.
Yeah, they're talking to famous people, like the angry video game nerd. Justin, be jealous, yo. But apparently they announced the next season for that Goosebumps show. David Schwimmer's in it. He's Ross on Friends.
He's Ross, right?
He's Ross on Friends, yes.
Okay. So is it going to be that someone ate his sandwich and then he goes like, "You ate my sandwich," and goes on a massive killing spree?
I assume so, yes.
And he's not playing a different character. He's just Ross.
He's Ross from Friends. He's bitterly separated from the rest of the friends. He's just angry and bitter and depressed.
And gone psychotic.
Well, it does say that he has 2 twin children, so maybe he just kidnapped Monica's kids. He just kidnapped them and convinced them that they were his children instead.
Because his children weren't good enough.
His children weren't good. Oh yeah, because he has his own children. Oh yeah, I forgot.
He has a son and a daughter.
I forgot he has his own children. But yeah, apparently this I guess this Goosebumps show is going to be like an anthology thing where each season is going to be like a new story. I guess kind of like a kid-friendly version of American Horror Story. And this one, what it says what the plot is. It says that it is David Schwimmer as Anthony Brewer, a former botany professor who has immersed himself in science and mystery. And this new season will draw from Stay Out of the Basement, The Haunted Car, Monster Blood, The Girl Who Cried Monster, and The Ghost Next Door, and Welcome to Camp Nightmare. And neat. I was just like, David Schwimmer, odd. That is odd, at least in my opinion, it's odd.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how to say this nicely, realize he still had a career.
Right? Well, I know that he's like directed a bunch of stuff.
He directed and stuff, but I mean as an actor.
I mean, other than Madagascar, I don't know. He's kind of coming back now. He's done a few things recently. None of it's coming to mind,
but like his resurgence kind of happened yet again because of Friends. It kind of came around when he did that reunion special, and it made him relevant again.
Yeah, it sort of seems that way. And then speaking of Friends,
I don't have any.
Oh, why is my timer not going? Oh, dang it. That's okay. No, speaking of Friends, wait, Jordan, real quick, how long have we been doing this?
Like a year?
No, I mean now. Time.
I don't know. Hold on, let me look. According to YouTube.
I hit go on the timer, but the timer did not go.
I can't tell.
Dang it. That's okay. We're gonna
wait, no. 6 minutes 51 is what we're around in that period.
Okay. So let's just say let's say 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. We'll say 5 minutes off. McDonald's has announced that they're doing a 30th anniversary special Happy Meal box for friends. And my question is, do the kids
for their friends?
No, for the TV show Friends.
Oh. Do kids even know what Friends is?
That was going to be my question, is do the kids even know what Friends is?
Like, it's a Happy Meal for kids, not like when they did the adult Happy Meal?
Yeah, no, this is a Happy Meal for kids, presumably, yeah.
It says, I don't get it. I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense.
It says, as a report to Deadline, the special edition combo would allow consumers to collect figurines of the show's central character. Instead of collecting toys from the... Yeah, blah, 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 would contain figurines of all of the 6 friends.
This kind of feels like a situation where they should have done another adult Happy Meal.
Oh, no, see, but then when you read this...
And put that in.
Okay, but then when I read this, it says, but it comes with a selection of a Big Mac, Quarter Pounder... I mean, these are all American. So I'm guessing then that's the adult Happy Meal then, not a kid's Happy Meal?
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, at that point that makes sense. But like, I'm just like, do the kids know who the friends are?
No, I don't believe they would. I just don't. I don't think. I would be shocked.
So Jordan, they finally announced that for that Green Lantern show that's happening, which is apparently going to be True Detective but with Green Lanterns.
They're making a Green Lantern show?
Yeah, it's called Lanterns. Remember when we were like...
Did we talk about this on here?
Yeah, we did. It was Josh Brolin was maybe going to be Hal Jordan.
Huh.
So the update to that story is that he turned it down. It didn't end up working out, and it's the story I've got pulled up is that he's in talks, but he's been officially confirmed. Oh, I cannot think of what you would know him from. Hold on. Kyle Chandler. Godzilla 2? The dad.
Godzilla 2. The dad.
The MonsterVerse ones. Millie Bobby Brown's dad.
Hold on.
Kyle Chandler. He is going to be Hal Jordan. He's a bit older than I would like, but I also, you know what? I'm cool with it because I like that actor.
Kyle Chandler.
It's one of those ones I know you know. Fudge. I didn't even do that. That's okay.
I don't see it. I see him. I have him pulled up. I mean, I don't see him as Hal Jordan.
Him I do see. Especially like a more recent. He has kind of the vibe I could see.
He's too old.
Yeah, but that's kind of what they're going for with the series. Is they want like Hal Jordan to be. They basically want it where Hal Jordan is like an older cop, and Jon Stewart is like the up and comer basically. And it's basically they're like space cops.
I don't. Yeah, I need to see it.
Older, grizzled Hal Jordan.
I need to see it in practice. On paper, I don't see it.
I'm not against it. I would have liked younger, but I see what they're going for. I understand what they're going for with this. Where it's like they want.
Well, that's where I wouldn't. For maybe for a second season or something, you bring in Jon Stewart, but for a first season when you're setting everything up, I would have had it be where Hal Jordan is the young one and Kilowog is the gritty detective that he's teamed up with.
The idea though is that this is a DC universe in progress, so like the characters are a bit more in place. So I think that's why they're like, no, they want, typically when they do Jon Stewart, he is like being introduced into it. So I think that's kind of what they want, and I think they want multiple Green Lanterns to be able to show up. So like I know that Guy Gardner is going to be Superman.
You can have multiple Green Lanterns show up. They just don't all have to be human.
Yeah, but humans are cheaper.
Yeah.
And also, I think
on paper, it's not doing it for me.
I don't mind. It's like to be fair though, it sounds like the CW shows, and I like the CW shows. So like, a slightly more interesting and expensive one. Sure, why not? I'll give it a chance. I'll give anything a chance. So apparently, Jordan. Okay, now let's do it this way. Jordan, what do you think the sequel to Freaky Friday, what do you think the name is? What is its official title?
Freakier Friday.
Damn it! Did you cheat?
No, I legitimately didn't.
That was a legit guess.
That was a legit guess.
Kudos, man! You got it. You nailed it. It's Freakier Friday. Is it because you went for like the lamest possible answer?
Yeah, pretty much. I tried to think of like what's the most cliche.
There was a name. There was a moment there where I thought you had it pulled out. It was like I was like, "There's no way you got that first throw." That's good. That's good. Yeah, no, it's Freakier Friday.
This is my screen.
That's funny. Yeah, Freakier Friday. Yeah, that's what it is.
With my Hellraiser Cabin in the Woods Final Destination list here.
And it is apparently coming out. It's coming to theaters, which absolutely shocked me.
That surprises me.
I cannot believe that's not going straight to Disney Plus. But August 6th next year. Bless you.
Thank you.
That's seriously very impressive.
Word 789 says with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Didn't they get like everyone back?
Pretty well, yeah. Chad Michael Murray's coming back. I don't know. I think the grandpa died, so I don't know about him. And I don't know about the younger brother. But at the very least, Jamie Lee Curtis and and it sounds like they're all doing a swap. This is what the plot sounds like. It's like the daughter swaps, the grandma swaps, and the mom swaps. So there's a triple swap apparently happening.
Yeah, it's just another example of a movie or show for me where it's like, okay, this is fun, but like 10 years too late.
That's kind of my thing is like, yeah. But to be fair, I think Lindsay Lohan is in a place now where like she can do this stuff. Like she's got a kid. She's a bit more responsible. I don't know if 5-10 years ago she was in a place to do this.
Yeah, that's
true.
But I'm not talking in terms of that. I just am talking in terms of movie making.
Like, in terms of like, is this the space for this
relevancy?
Right now? Yeah, I mean, maybe because Jamie Lee Curtis won an Oscar, so there's that kind of pop. She does kind of have a popularity. I'm gonna get to see her a bunch next week.
You know what I would kind of like to see modern retelling of, and it would be fun to see Lindsay Lohan in a different role in the movie. Is I'd love to see a modern 2020 version of Parent Trap, and now she's the mother.
That'd be kind of fun. That'd be. I know that. I think has Disney done a recent remake of that? No, they've done a recent remake of Freaky Friday. I don't think they've done one of the Parent Trap. That'd be kind of fun. I thought it was fun when she showed up in.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing now with these movies these days. Word 789 says like Dumb and Dumber 2 decades later.
Yeah, decades later, like way too late. Where you're like,
where it's like, is this still relevant enough to warrant a sequel, or should it just have remained in the past 20 years ago where it was?
Second Beetlejuice has that vibe for me of like, this is like 10 years too late. Like you guys struggled to make this, and now it just kind of feels like you're making it because you have to. I know everyone says their passion behind it, but it's so cynical. That movie just feels like, hey, he got dumped on for 5 years, or for 10 years for making bad movies, and he needs to remind people that he made good movies at one point. Like that's what that felt like. I don't know. Maybe next Halloween we'll watch that.
So yeah, when I hear about these movies where it's like this or that, or like those kind of ones,
this has that vibe. I don't disagree.
It just it always gives me that vibe.
It absolutely gives me that vibe. But like, hey, anything can be good.
Theoretically,
anything can be good. Theoretically. So Jordan, they announced another Big Bang Theory spinoff. I feel like we're constantly talking about Big Bang Theory spinoffs. So I'm going to kind of lump together.
So there's the Mandy one.
Yeah.
There was Young Sheldon.
Yep.
What's now? What now?
Well, first I want to talk real quick because we never did talk about it because it just started to feel like we're talking about Young Sheldon every week. So I cut it for one of our shows. But since we're talking about this anyway, I saw the trailer for that Mandy. The
Emily Osment show.
Yeah. Man, it looks awful. It looks real bad. It's just like these characters don't belong in this. It looks like it's like a fantasy sequence in an episode of Young Sheldon. It doesn't look right. These characters don't fit this setting or this vibe or this style of sitcom. They weren't created for that. They weren't written for that. And it just feels weird. Have you not seen the trailer for it?
Yeah, no, but just from concept, I gave Young Sheldon a chance, and I ended up liking that one. But to me, right from the get go, that was weird. It was like, okay, so we're playing the game of how long can we ride off the coattails of the Big Bang Theory, and this is now like 30 separation, 50 separations from Bacon kind of situation. Yeah, and it's like. So, like, what's next? Are we going to do one about Mandy's children that has nothing to do with the original cast and is like...
Oh, so you're going to love this.
Tangentially...
So, they announced that they're doing a spin-off, and it's going to involve the characters of Stuart, Stuart's girlfriend, and...
Stuart, the guy who wasn't a part of the main cast and just owned a comic book store.
Yeah,
Stuart?
Yeah, that guy. You know, the guy who the entire.
We might as well do a spin-off of the guy who talks like this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's my thing with Bert. Yeah, Bert from the and then the third guy's Bert from the university. But yeah, that's my thing. Is the whole joke with Stuart is that he's not the main character. Like, that's the whole bit. Is tragic shit happens to him and nobody cares. That's the joke. So if you take him and you make him the main character, the joke doesn't work anymore. I mean, and to be fair, there's a lot of episodes in the later seasons where they're clearly trying to see if they can make that character stick into something, but they never work because he's a one joke character. And the minute they give him a girlfriend and he started to develop agency, it no longer works.
He's supposed. I mean, he's a callback to characters like from The Simpsons, the comic book guy. He's the sad nerd who owns a comic book. Like that's his joke. So when you then take that away, it doesn't work.
No, I'm like, no, I don't. Hey, but look, anything can be good. Anything can be good.
I don't know that anything can be good.
Anything can be good. Anything can be good, Jordan. Doesn't mean anything will be good. So, Jordan,
for me, it's where do you draw the line? And I have this issue with Hollywood more and more of like, where do you draw the line and just blatantly say like that's not creative and we need to stop shit like this? Like where is that line when you have 3 generations of a thing from Big Bang Theory? Maybe you should just make a new show with new characters that aren't related to Big Bang Theory.
When that Big Bang Theory, when these shows stop making money, is when that happens.
I'm not talking from the corporation side of things. I'm talking from our side of things. When do we start like calling them out on their shit?
That will likely.
I'm calling them out on their shit at this point.
It will likely. I mean, the regular everyday people probably never.
Do better.
So Jordan, apparently,
I decline. Do better.
No. Give me a better one. Give me the single camera sitcom where it's an older Sheldon. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna keep riding the coattails of Big Bang Theory, at least make it interesting.
So Jordan, they announced the main lead. I'm not gonna bother you with it because you have no idea who it is, and I don't know him from anything. But they've also announced that Henry Cavill, Superman, will be in that live action Voltron movie. And like, so that makes that movie slightly more interesting to me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Haley Marcus just commented, "Don't talk down to Big Bang Theory. I love they're doing a spin-off. I hope they add the OG characters."
I mean, that one certainly has the chance of them to appear in it.
I mean, Justin,
Jordan,
are you gonna take the defensive point here of this show is good, and I'm gonna just bash it? Are you going to be the defender here?
I mean, you also like Big Bang Theory, so what are we even doing?
I like Big Bang Theory. I don't like these endless spin-offs, which
I mean, this one prefer, I'm like, no, why? But
I would prefer that they make a straight up sequel series.
Yeah.
And bring back some of the OG characters.
In this case, it's like You're not even making a spin-off of a secondary character. You're making a spin-off of a tertiary character. So it's like no, I'm not really interested in that. But
no,
hey, I
I'd
wasn't
rather
interested
the
in Young
sequel.
Sheldon, and I like that show. So
I'd rather
who
the
knows?
sequel where we see Sheldon and Amy Farrah Fowler as parents, and we get to see Penny and Leonard show up as parents, and like
Yeah.
I want that
To
show.
be fair, it was very admirable that Young Sheldon lasted as long as it did. Everyone, that was a very much every year that show would come back and people would be like, "That show's still on?" Yeah, and it turned out to be surprisingly better than the original. Who would have seen it coming?
Better is a strong word. Different. It's different. They're two completely different. You're comparing apples to oranges.
So, Jordan, they finally announced
I'm not wrong.
they're making a new Karate Kid movie, Jordan, and it is going to star. Yeah,
didn't they make one before with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan?
They did, yes, and then they made a series called Cobra Kai, and they're making a new one, and it will star Ralph Macchio, the not Karate Kid, but Karate Kid in name only, and Jackie Chan, and it is set to come out May 30th.
Oh, yeah, I remember you mentioning about this one before.
Yeah, it's set to come out May 30th, 2025.
Where we were like, so wait, does this link the new one and the old one? Do they exist in the same world? Like,
it seemingly does. Yeah, it's going to be called Karate Kid Legends.
Okay, I don't know. I need to see a trailer.
I'm like, but then my question is, will Jaden Smith come back? I know that they were looking for a new The Karate Kid.
The better question is, do we want him to?
Yeah, kind of, just for fun. Because I think it'll be fun.
Because didn't he get weird?
A little. Man, it turns out I don't have that much news this week. A little, yeah, he got a little weird, but yeah, kind of. I kind of do, yeah.
Mostly, I just would like to see him and like the guy from the original fight for some reason, which will make no sense.
It would make no sense, but yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Like maybe they're both in a turn. They're both in a tournament or something. I don't know.
They're both in some kind of tournament. Yeah.
One of them's 50 and the other one's like 30. I don't know. How old is Jaden Smith now?
Find out.
And the guy from the original.
How old is Jaden Smith?
The guy from the original has to be 50, right?
He's 26 years old. How old is Ralph Macchio? He's apparently 62 years old. So, Joe, we can watch a 26-year-old man beat up a 62-year-old. Wow, yeah, he's 62? Wow, he looks incredible for 62.
So, wait, how old is Jackie Chan?
Let's find out. How old is Jackie Chan? Jackie Chan is apparently 70 years old.
Okay, so then they'll have the guy from the original fight Jackie Chan. They're closer in age.
I'm in there very much. So is it just gonna fight each other and then just have a heart attack? Oh, that was mean, Justin. That was a mean and rude thing you just said.
No, Justin, that was mean. You should feel bad about yourself. Jackie Chan will kick his ass.
I mean, if he doesn't break a hip first. I get it, because he's old.
Yeah, but he's in amazing shape. He's in amazing shape because he's been doing stunts his entire life.
He's an old man now, Jordan. You're
an old man of 34.
He does serious introspective movies now about what it means to be a foreigner. That's what he does. And then all my last news stories are all just Terrifier related. So
of course they are.
We'll just fold those into Terrifier Town. So I guess we'll end the news, which if my timer's off, we've only done like 20 minutes of the news. I think my timer is off by 5 minutes. We've done 25.
That's okay, Justin. I feel like the rest of the show will take up enough time.
So, Jordan, it's time for a final installment of What's Going On with Velma.
What? How did Velma die? What put the final nail in the coffin of Velma?
Well, Jordan, the report is that Velma has been canceled after 2 seasons.
Finally.
So, Jordan, there will be no more Velma. We will no longer ask the question, what's going on with Velma?
Oh, I mean, that's not fair. There will be some version of Velma which comes next, and it may be worse.
It will, yeah. It will not return for a season 3.
I don't think it will be worse, but it may be. It has the potential.
I don't think it could. I don't think it could get worse.
I mean, you know,
to be fair,
everything could get worse.
Everything after the objectively best Scooby-Doo series, Mystery Incorporated. Seriously, it's objectively the best Scooby-Doo series. I'm not wrong. Jordan, you're not saying that I'm not wrong? I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, then what is objectively the best Scooby-Doo series?
I didn't say you were wrong.
Exactly! Because I'm not wrong. Your silence confirmed my rightness.
I will say I have a fond nostalgia in my heart for Scooby-Doo. Where Are You?
Yeah, but it's not as good. It doesn't have themes. That's it for the news for now. We're going to come back. I've got Terrifier news. We talk about Terrifier. So, Jordan, you want to do the news theme now? Do the news theme now. I don't think that. I feel like that was the original news theme.
No, the original one was just.
I'm doing the Donald Trump jerking off 2 men.
No, you're milking the cow.
I'm milking those cows. I'm milking them cows. Today's episode, I forgot to put it in the description, but today's episode, because it's the spooky season, Jordan, what do people do during Halloween season if not have costume contests where they dress up as their favorite costumed characters and judge each other and be like, ooh, that is the best costumed character. And Jordan, how is the best way to Jordan, I'm getting there. Let me cook. How is the best way to acknowledge that you have the best costume, Jordan?
Oh, I see. I mean, a trophy with a personalized engraved thing.
He got there. He got there in the end. He got there. He figured it out.
You could pay to have that, or perhaps some sort of belt
that says I am. Or let's say you want to dress up as a professional wrestler, you can get a belt and go as Hulk Hogan.
They have rings
or Macho Man.
Or if you wanted to have stuff for all the losers, then they have a loser section, which probably could have custom engraved you're not so scary loser, or if you will, boozer.
A boozer. Or
a booser.
A booser. Not a boozer. That would be weird. You're a boozer. No, it's booser. A booster.
Yeah, a boo-sir.
Let's say a friend shows up in a terrible costume. You can be like, here, your costume sucks. Here's a trophy to tell you how. But the important part is that once I put it in the link in the description, you click our link, you go to trophiesmac.com. It tells them that we sent you, and it does all the good stuff. And they make good stuff like we got one of these guys. Just look at that. Look at the shine. Look, such good quality. Look at how we are an award-winning podcast, and enjoy the quality. Feel that sheen. Listen to that.
So just remember,
listen to that.
Step one, buy engraved trophy. Step 2, ? Step 3, profit.
It also comes with these handy hookings, so you can hang it on your wall and be reminded of how you are awesome. So that's trophiesmac.com. Check them out. Thank you as always for sponsoring this episode. We are forever grateful. With that, it's spooky Jordan, everybody. With that, it's time to talk about. Oh man, this is gonna be an episode. So I don't normally like to do trigger warnings.
Trigger warning.
Content warning. This week we're gonna be talking about just some unbelievably unpleasant stuff. Just some gnarly, nasty, upsetting, violent stuff.
I mean, and I feel like to a degree we're going to even have to censor ourselves here because YouTube might not like some of the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get into all the details of all of these. But to start off with, I do want to say it's sort of funny that Jordan at the beginning of the week went, I'm thinking of doing the Purge movies. And I went, you can, but that's not really what I'm thinking. And he's like, but those are violent. And I went, you'll get what I mean by the end of the week. So now, and I said, I'm going to ask you about it on the podcast. So Jordan, do you now get what I meant at the beginning of the week when I was like,
I still think they fit the theme, but they're not as bad. They would be on as far as Terrifiers are on the opposite side of the scale. They would be on the lower end of the scale, like 2.
So
they would be a 2.
So just as I don't normally go through the stuff we're going to talk about, but if you are particularly put off by, so I'm going to be talking about the Cabin Fever movies, Hostel, and then we will be, of course, talking Thanksgiving, and we will be talking about the Terrifier movies 1, 2, and 3, and all of the shorts surrounding it. And Jordan,
I have Hellraiser, Cabin in the Woods, Final Destination, a few different of the Saw movies, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and then there's Terrifier.
Yeah, so we will attempt to not be specific, but we will also not censor ourselves. So, yeah, that's going to happen. So let's start off with some rapid fire. Jordan, but you go first.
Well, the first one that I watched was Final Destination, which, of the ones that I was subjected to this week, was on the tamer side of things.
I wish I almost wish I could pull up a tier ranking. So I think after each one of these, we're at the end of this we will rate these of from most gnarly to least gnarly, or least disgusting or most disgusting, whatever metric you choose to use in that vein.
So here's the question then: Are we? Because if you have any of the Terrifier movies on this list, you know they're gonna win.
Not for me.
Okay, fair enough. They are for me. They immediately. I without talking about any of this stuff, I can tell you which
3, 2, and then 1.
Terrifier 3, then 2, and then 1.
In that descending order.
No, sorry. Terrifier. Actually, I would say probably Terrifier 1, 3, 2.
Interesting. Really, we'll get there. That's interesting.
In terms of graphic grossness, do you not remember the scene that's in Terrifier 1?
Yeah.
This very specific one that you know?
Yeah.
I still think oh. That's weird. My phone just went to there we go. Went to a weird screen. Of the scenes, that one very much still I think is the worst, the most gnarly of all of them. Anyway, we're jumping the gun.
We're jumping
Final Destination, by comparison, is a baby's movie. There's not that. I mean, there's violence, but like it's what okay.
It's the first one, so it's not that like.
Sorry, I'm collecting my thoughts here. When it comes to violence, I never really thought I had a line. Like, in terms of movies, I should say.
Yeah.
In person, very different. I want to, for the sake of clarity here, state I'm normal.
Yeah, I am a normal person.
Violence,
person. I don't like blood.
Real, not fictional violence bothers and upsets me.
Yeah.
But in terms of a movie, my brain is usually capable of being like, oh, that's not real, and deriving some sort of sick entertainment from it. Whether it's that cathartic, like everybody likes to watch gladiators fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But I sort of discovered throughout watching these movies this week that for me, it hits a point where, this is going to sound weird, but stay with me on this. When it hits a point of too much violence, it's boring.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing to it. It doesn't hold any substance.
And to be
fair,
it doesn't do it.
It doesn't do it for me.
To get this back to Final Destination, there's no story in that movie. It's just kind of an exhibition of watching people get slowly ticked off a list.
Not real, that kind of, but that's where I don't really. No, I don't agree. I would say that that's more true of the Terrifier movies. With these, he's fighting death. He's very much fighting a thing, a force, an idea, He's fighting death. He's trying to countermand death's plans and screw them up, basically, at a certain point.
But I mean, to be fair, they kind of become this more later on in the later movies. But they kind of just become it's about doing the big set piece scene where it's about watching a guy get his head sliced off.
Sure, and that's probably true for the later ones. I'm talking exclusively the first one because
that's still kind of is because people get like the one chick gets exploded by a bus.
Again, though, they're trying to fight death. That's the idea. They very specifically say that it's death's plans that they're fighting.
Yeah,
against.
so it's just they're just getting checked off of death's list of like it's just moving down the list until they eventually get them all. Like none of them survive the end.
I mean, 2 of them survive the end.
But doesn't it do the big thing at the end like all horror movies do, where you think they survive but then they get killed anyway?
It does the thing at the end where basically there's the 3 of them that had survived because the death like moved past them on the list. They're in Paris. They flew there to Paris, and they're like, "Oh, how come we're still alive or whatever?" And death tries to kill the main guy and screws up, and it ends up killing one of the other guys. But the main guy and the girl are both still alive at the end.
Oh, fair enough. I haven't seen. It's been so long since I've seen it, and I don't remember the second one. I know I've seen it. I don't remember it.
I would have liked to watch the second one, but on our streaming service, that was in French.
It's in fucking French. Goddamn bilingual country.
Ugh. But so something I kind of learned over the course of this week is, at a certain point, these movies all kind of start to feel the same. And so, of the ones I watched, this is probably one of the ones that I liked the most.
It's the ones that's the. Oh, actually, you know what? The ranking we'll do how most unpleasant to least unpleasant. I guess. How unpleasant was this? Was it very unpleasant?
This was. I mean, pleasant is a weird word, but
not unpleasant. I'll take.
It wasn't unpleasant. It wasn't like it didn't make me. There was no points where I had to go like oh, stop it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, is that it? Is that it for Final Destination?
That's it for Final Destination.
So my first rapid fire is a movie called Cabin Fever, starring the guy from Boy Meets World, Sean from Boy Meets World.
Ryder Strong.
Yeah, it's I watched a lot of Eli Roth movies this week, and it turns out that man is fucking disgusting. Like, he's so disgusting. Like, so this one is basically like, they go to this cabin in the woods, and somehow, it's never really explained how, this dog gets infected by this virus, this flesh-eating virus that spreads to humans, and then all the humans sort of start to like decay, and like their skin falls off, and they become all like mutilated. And
that sounds disgusting.
They for whatever this came out in 2003, but for some reason takes place before cell phones. So like there's so many scenes of them like going to other people's houses and being like, "Can we borrow your phone to phone for help?" and them being like, "No." And so then this is weird scene. The thing I discovered about Eli Roth movies is his movies are supposed to be scary and upsetting, but there's weird scenes that kill tension. So like there's a character where he's a young boy, and so Ryder Strong like sits next to this boy, and the boy bites him. And he's like, "Ow, sorry. What the fuck?"
Just because I'm curious, at what point during Boy Meets World is this for Ryder Strong? How old is Ryder Strong, do you think, in this?
This movie came out in 2003. I couldn't be bothered to look up when this was actually going to be a test for you. What year did Boy Meets World end?
Okay, I think that's after Boy Meets World.
I'm almost entirely positive it is, because he does a lot of sex in this movie. He has a big old sex.
Because I think Boy Meets World ended in 2001.
That's what I felt like. I felt like it had to be 2001. And I didn't want to Google it. I couldn't be bothered. He does a big old sex. So if he's still doing, I doubt he's still doing Disney at that point. He also kills a lot of people in this movie.
It ended. Boy Meets World ended May 2000.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's 3 years after Boy Meets World. He kills a lot of people in this movie. But yeah, so then it turns out that the town discovers that they're all infected, and they all roll in and like kill them all and burn their bodies. And it's like this feels like a highly unethical way to deal with the contagion. And it just kind of is implied that these townspeople have dealt with this before. It's a very strange movie.
So it's basically a culling of Stratholme, if you will.
It sort of seems that way, yeah. And it's sort of implied that this is a virus that keeps like getting around, and there's more than one of these and a remake. So maybe the remake explains it better, but they never really explain what this disease is, where it comes from. All it is just really an exhibition to watch people like slowly disintegrate, and it is really gross. But it's not the most unpleasant one of his movies. That's coming. That's it. Cabin Fever.
That's Cabin Fever?
That's Cabin Fever.
Okay. So I was trying to decide what order I wanted to do things in, and I think I know which order I'm going to do them in. Yeah, we'll get to it. Anyways, next one is Hellraiser.
Oh yeah. I've always wanted to watch that movie.
Which yeah, it was interesting.
Everyone treats him like he's an iconic horror character, but I know nothing about him. I tried to read about him like one time, and the backstory. Yeah, the backstory is so convoluted. He's like a demon from like another universe, but he's like possessing a guy.
That's where I was confused by this movie, because I thought Pinhead was going to be kind of a major thing in it, and going to be in it a lot.
Doesn't he like not show up to like the very end?
Yeah, so basically, Cold Notes version, the one bad guy, who I guess is the main girl's uncle, finds this cube and figures out how to open it, and this was early in the week, so I'm going to be forgetting some of the details because it's been wiped out by other scenes of horrific violence.
Set in clown movies?
You said it, not me. Basically, he opens the box, and then, the Pinhead demons and all the other ones from that universe, when you open it, they show up and want to kill you and turn you into one of them, if I remember correctly. And so the niece at one point opens it, and they show up, and they're like, "You have to come with us now," and start to try to kill her. And she's like, my uncle, I know this other one who he escaped you guys. He's actually still alive. And she tricks the uncle into running into them, essentially, and they take him and stop him and kill him. But like the course of the movie, her stepmom keeps killing people and feeding them to the uncle, who is like, when he first shows up, is like a horrible skeleton, like covered in blood, and then he gets more of his body back as he eats people, and he's like something like a cross between a zombie and a demon. It's very confusing.
So what does this have to do with Pinhead?
He's one of the creatures that shows up when you open the box.
But Pinhead isn't like the main guy?
No, he's not.
But
the uncle is the main thing that keeps killing people.
But then why is Pinhead like the character? Like he's the poster. He's on the poster.
That's why I was very confused.
That is so confusing. I'm very confused. Justin's confused.
So basically, him and the other weird demon things show up when you open the box, and then they try to kill you. But like, he's not the main thing in this movie. Maybe he was in the later movies. To be fair, I didn't watch like any of the other ones, but maybe it becomes more of the point. But like in that first one, it doesn't really seem to be the point. But
just to be confused, yo.
On a scale of unpleasant to not unpleasant, because I don't think we can say any of these are pleasant.
No. Not pleasant.
It has a few, considering it was like, I don't remember when it was made. I think it was the 80s sometime. Considering it was made then, there are definitely some scenes which are like, yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
Like for the time in particular, like that's gross. Like there's the scenes where you see the guy, like the uncle character without any of his skin on, and it's like, that's gross. It's nasty. It's gross. It's unpleasant. Yeah. So like,
be real gross,
considering the time when it came out, I imagine that this was especially gross at the time. Like this was
the Terrifier,
right? The Terrifier of its age.
Yeah, that's the thing, and we're gonna get to that when we get to some slasher guys next week. But like, yeah, when you watch these movies, you gotta kind of put them in like in the 1970s or in 1980s. Yeah, that was disgusting, and it makes them hold up. Like we wanted to talk about The Fly, but The Fly, that movie is still fucking disgusting.
Right. Hellraiser was 1987.
Yeah. So you're like, yeah, it makes these movies stand out.
For the time, it's like, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That's pretty upsetting. It's generally pretty upsetting.
That they were allowed to get away with what they did.
Right?
So yeah, that's Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. That's so fascinating. That Pinhead's not really in it.
Not really. Yeah. He's in like from what I remember. Again, I watched it near the beginning of the week, but he's in like 2 scenes, maybe 3.
Interesting. That's so interesting. My next ones I'm doing 2 at once. I watched the first. It
feels like a character that shows up like more later in the franchise.
Probably if I had to guess, yeah. My movies is my first 2. First 2 Hostel movies. I didn't watch the third one. I couldn't be bothered because only the first 2 are directed by Eli Roth. So the second one's like a direct to DVD spinoff. But okay, Terrifier. The Terrifier movies are my line because they're just this like the thing. We'll talk about when we get to the Saw movies. Is those movies got accused of being torture porn, and the first one in particular, we talked about Dead Silence last week. Dead Silence exists because everyone accused the first Saw movie of being torture porn, and that movie, we're gonna talk about it, is not torture porn. This is like, and it's the reason why I not to jump ahead, but with the Terrifier movies, why I'm like, I don't necessarily think they're necessarily torture porn. I definitely could see the argument, and I will not dismiss that out of hand. But to me, at the very least, some of the victims get to run away. Like this is like for the first. Okay, we'll do the first one first. So, first Hostel is about 3 guys, 2 Americans, and 1 guy from like Iceland, and they're backpacking across Europe, and they are like the horniest guys alive. All they want to do is be fucking. That's all they be wanting to do. And,
we've all been there.
We've all been there. And so they get kicked out of their hostel for breaking curfew, and they run into this guy who's like, "Oh, there's this hostel in Slovakia. You should go check it out. The women they want you. The women want you." So they go to the Slovakia, and they run into this like business guy on the train who's like real creepy. He like making a move on them, whatever. They get to this hostel, and this is like the first hour of the movie is just this they meet these girls, and they start to develop this relationship with them. They sleep with them, and just out of nowhere, one of the 3 guys just disappears, and the hostel people tell him that he's left. And you see a quick flash. Oh, and one of the other people staying at the hostel is a Japanese woman, has also disappeared. You see a quick flash of a scene of her just being like tortured. And there's just these scenes in this movie of people just being strapped to chairs while guys in like almost like surgical outfits just like dissect them and like cut them into pieces, and like there's just very long sequences of just like, yeah, people, it's like you said, they're reveling in it, but like they talk. So like eventually it's revealed that this hostel is a front for this company called Elite Hunting Group, which is this company where rich people can pay an entirely too small amount of money, $25,000. They can pay, and they will bring you to this facility, this hostel, where you can essentially kill someone.
So for the down payment of a very moderate $400,000 home, you can go do this.
Not even 25 grand. 25 grand.
I know. That's
Yeah.
what I said. The down payment
Oh,
of
the down payment. Yeah.
a very modest
Yeah.
$400,000 home.
Small sedan, a brand new small sedan. Yeah, yeah, you could go. I'm like, that seems like an entirely, maybe, just to be fair, the movie I think came out 2003, so it might be, or 2000s, early 2000s. So that
Okay,
might not.
so with inflation, that's like what, 300 or $30,000?
It's still like, I feel like that kind of
I
activity should be, at least be $1 million.
At least half a
At
million.
least $500,000, right? But $1 million, it feels like it should be $1 million. It just feels like it's not enough money to do the things that they do to people. But so then
I mean, plus you gotta, if you're gonna really break down the value of what a human life is, like a rich person, you capturing a rich person to hunt down should cost more than like getting, this is sick, but getting a homeless person off the street and just making them disappear. That's like a $30,000 to $40,000
Jordan, these
thing, like,
movies do this to but the thing is, they're the whole appeal to them is they're shitty American tourists. That's who you get to murder. So it's like people who,
okay.
like, you could explain away that, oh, they just disappeared in Europe. Yeah. So
Okay.
but eventually they get.
But like, what I'm saying is, like, if we're talking in an actual business sense, the value of what you're paying really should depend on the
Right.
high value of the acquiring that is necessary
So
of said individual.
it turns out that the one and the thing,
I'm a terrible person.
Then the thing is,
these movies have made me into a terrible person.
The thing is when we're going to talk about this when we get to the Terrifier movies. The thing that makes slasher films fun, in air quotes, is the people who get killed typically deserve it, or are deserving of it in some fashion, and you're like, yeah, they got theirs. Like,
oh, they're either, oh, they're so stupid they had this coming, or, oh, they're bad people, or,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like in this one, it's just not that. It's just not that. It's just like there's a scene. So there's when they get the one friend. Eventually, they get the other friend, like the main duo, and he's got him like strapped into a chair, and he's just like screaming and begging for help. And the businessman they ran into on the train, turns out he's paid to kill him. And part of the deal is you got to get a tattoo that has like the club symbol on it or whatever. You have to kill a person. And it turns out that he always wanted to be a doctor or a surgeon, but he has the shakes. And so it's just him like slicing and dicing this guy like with a scalpel, like cutting pieces off of him and stuff. And they eventually they get the other friend, and he manages to escape and kill the guy who's about to kill him, because the guy slips and slices off his fingers and like cuts his bindings. And so he manages to get out, and he kills him, and he escapes. And he manages to get out, and he survives to the end of the movie. And the first one, it's just like, yeah, it was just unpleasant. It was just one of those ones where it's like, I hate it. I was like, I hate this. This is awful. Like, this isn't fun. There's no mystery. There's no intrigue. There's no story. There's no story. It's like, this is torture porn. There's no point to this. It's just needless, disgusting violence, torturing people who don't really deserve it, who haven't earned it. But it's not done in a creative way. And the people doing it, like at one point, you don't know them from anything, but there's that one of the American guys who, like, basically the one of the kids, he escapes and he pretends to be one of them. He kills one of the guys and he steals the costume and he pretends to be one of them. And he runs into an American businessman who is talking about like what he's gonna do or whatever. And he's like, "What are you gonna do when you get in there?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've slept with so many women, but this is a real rush or whatever." And he's in Suits. I don't know of anything you would know him in, but he always plays an asshole. Like, he's always plays an asshole. And like, yeah, it's just like,
are you sure he's playing?
Yeah, because I saw another movie this week where he was a nice guy. So like, but
okay, well, but maybe he was just playing in that one.
Yeah, he's just got that kind of face. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is the one where like, this is torture porn. Like, this is this is just killing people. So at the end, the guy gets away, and he's escaped with the other Japanese girl who has had her like eye gouged out. It's like, it's funny, you said eye shit made you, ugh. But she, at one point, she has her eye gouged out, and her eye is like hanging from her face, and he like has to like cut it out, and it's like, oh, please stop that, please stop that, please stop that.
I
And
don't like eye stuff, man.
I don't like eye stuff, and so she like he helps her escape, and it's like, oh yeah, you look fine. You know what I mean? You don't look great, but we'll get you an eye patch. It'll be a cool eye patch. You don't have to. And she gets a like a look at herself in the mirror, and she starts to like they're at a train station. She starts to walk towards the train platform. And it's like, no, we'll get you a really cool eye patch, man. You don't have to. No, don't do that. And then she jumps in front of the train and explodes like meat. And it's like this,
like dust.
Yeah, it's awful movie. So then that leads to the second one.
Does it have to?
Where, yeah, because the second one's worse. Okay. So the second one immediately begins with the guy from the first one who has survived and is living, and for some reason he has his fingers back, even though they got cut off in the last movie. But whatever. He now has a girlfriend who is tired of him.
Put them back on.
I guess, yeah. But he has a girlfriend who now who's with him, who is sick to death. He's having night terrors about this group of people and this club. And she wants him to stop whining about it, even though like it was really traumatic. I know, I saw it. And he immediately gets killed within like the first 5 minutes of the movie, just dead. And it switches to 3 other characters, one of which is the show Lucifer.
Yeah,
it's Chloe from Lucifer.
The main girl,
the detective. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a weird coincidence.
Yeah, and so it's her one friend, and her other friend who the movie coats as being either socially awkward or like autistic, just like really innocent seeming. She has her like little book, and yeah, they're same deal as the first. No, they're art students. They're art students who are living abroad in Europe, and they get convinced to go to a, you guessed it, hostel, the same hostel from the first movie, for the weekend. And they begin partying. The difference with this one, though, is now you get to see the perspective of the people in the club. So there's sort of two plots going on. There's the girls and what's happening with them, and then there's 2 new characters. One of which is played by Roger Bart, who is the singing voice of young Hercules in Hercules, and is currently, I don't know if currently, but he did play Doc Brown in the Back to the Future musical. He and his friend are 2 businessmen, best friends who get up to who like to party together, and this is like the ultimate form of partying. They pay this money,
party and murder, apparently.
Yeah, and the whole thing. So they get to select. So the Roger Bart, the young Hercules, he selects Chloe from Lucifer to murder, and his friend selects the other girl. And the whole thing is like they're watching them from afar or whatever, and they get to like actually party and stay in like a nice hotel or whatever while they wait, and then they get paged when it's their turn to go torture and kill these people. And so while this is happening, he has kind of gotten to know her, and so eventually it finally comes to the point where they collect them, they tie them up, whatever, and the whole time it sort of seems like Roger Bart is the good guy, like he's gonna save. So reveal, you think he's gonna save them, and the other guy who the entire time has been like, dude, we gotta do this, dude, he's been super excited to do it, he wants to do it, he accidentally slices the girl's face, and she starts screaming in pain, and he freaks out, and he's like, oh my god, I don't want to do this, like, I don't want to do this, I'm out, I paid, I got what I wanted, I'm out. And Roger Bart like snaps and he becomes evil, and he has what is, in my opinion, the weirdest line in the entire movie, where she's like, yeah, you're like, or she's like, oh, the girl Chloe's like, oh, you're strong. He's like, yeah, I'm Hercules. And I was like, yeah, man, yeah, you are. I suppose you technically Hercules. And then he snaps and goes full bore crazy and decides he wants to do a murder, and he gets his dick cut off. And you get to see it, and it's really gross.
Okay, I have no words. I just okay.
And there's like the one girl who gets killed is the friend who, like, she just doesn't deserve it. And there's just a very long scene of her naked, like just getting dismembered that goes on for like ever, and there's just no. It's how did you put it? How did you put it when you described Terrifier?
There's no sense to it. There's no point. There's
no point to it. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't service anything. And so then the entire time in that movie, they keep telling you that the Chloe from Lucifer is rich. She's like, "Oh, I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich." And there's a point where the characters have a private conversation where they're like, "She's so rich, she could buy this entire country." And so then it gets to the point where she's about to be tortured and killed by Roger Bart, and she's like, I would like to pay my way out of this." And they're like, "How do we know that you have the money?" She's like, "I have the money. I want to pay my way out of this. I want to be able to like do whatever to get out of this." And they're like, "Oh, someone has to die," and that's when she is off his dangly bits. And the whole movie has been like taken in by this one chick. And so the last scene of the movie, because this all happens, nothing really happens for like most of the movie until like the last 10 minutes when all this disgusting shit happens. And then the movie ends. The final scene is like she's wearing an evil cloak, and she like pulls out the cloak, and she's got a scythe, and she just decapitates this woman, and then the movie ends. It is it is.
This movie sounds fucked up, and
it's awful. And the thing is, and this is the case I'm gonna make with at least with the Terrifier movies, and this is me leaping into my argument for the future. At least Art the Clown is kind of a fun character, like in the sense that he has a weird sense of humor and he has his moments of being kind of funny.
I know why you use the word fun. In this context, I feel like it's the improper word, but I understand what you're trying to say.
He's a theoretically fun clown.
He's a theatrical. He's a theatrical clown is how I would word it.
Exactly, yeah. He's fun in the way like a Freddy or like a Jason is.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the way that like a Jason or a Freddy is.
He's theatrical. That's how I would word it. Not fun. He's theatrical.
This is just a psychopath calling a woman the C word while he has his junk ripped off. Like, it's not pleasant. It's not fun. Like, the movie is an hour, and I think it was like an hour and 24 minutes, hour and a half, and it felt like it was 2 hours long. Like, it felt so long. Like, it's one of the few times where I was tempted to just, like, when she was like using the scythe on her, I just wanted to skip it so badly. I'm like, I want this to end. I want this to end. It's all I want. But yeah, that's the Hostel movies. They're awful. They're awful fucking movies.
So I have one more rapid fire, which is different, and then the other two are just Saw movies. So I'm just gonna lump those in with my Saw stuff.
Well, I will say, I've got two more. And I don't know if this is going to impact you. One of them is Saw X.
So yeah, Saw. You can just lump that into my Saw section.
Cool. Okay. Just
that's one of the ones that I was talking about.
You want me to just do my last one then, and we can just do a Saw section?
Well, I have one more.
Oh, you have one more before Saw section?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, never mind. Go on. Sorry. Sorry, did not mean to interrupt.
So yeah, anyway. So my last one is a palate cleanser because much like how I currently feel, when I was midweek, I was like, I need something that's fun, like that fits the theme, but it's fun, and I can just like kind of clean my palate a little bit. So I watched A Cabin in the Woods.
I love how that's a palate cleanser. That's hilarious.
Well, I mean, it is. It's a parody of all these movies that we're watching.
But it's still upsetting and violent.
It's still upsetting and violent, but like it's a parody of it all. So it's like to a certain degree, it's poking fun at it all. It's just the correct amount of violence where it doesn't offend my sensibilities.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I love this movie. it's like I said, a parody of all these movies. So, you have your group of teens who are going to a cabin in the woods, but like behind the scenes, you have the scientists who are trying to make all the things that typically happen in a horror movie happen. They're pumping them full of chemicals to make them fit the archetypes. Like it's so fun. And then meanwhile, you have the stoner who, because
it's on
he's
academic scholarship. What are you talking about?
Because he's a stoner and the weed is making it so the chemicals aren't affect. So he's like, he keeps hearing the voices and he's like, who's talking? Like,
Right.
what the fuck is going on?
Right.
Like, he's like, the Chris Hemsworth's character starts acting more and more like a jock, and he's like, he's on academic scholarship. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
And that's a funny hint at that at the beginning. Yeah, when he's saying all this nerd shit. And yeah, you don't really clue into that because it's so effective. Yeah, this movie is one of those ones where, like, well, I mean, I know why there hasn't been more of them, but there really should have been like at least one more, maybe two. Like, I'd watch a prequel that explains how this whole ritual works.
The thing is that, yeah, you could have had a prequel that took place like last year or any number of years before. Like, this is the last one because they screw it all up.
Yeah.
But that kind of implies that there was a bunch of other ones that they did where it worked. So, like, you could just have different stories which take place in this world at different points, and you get to see different groups of teenagers or different groups of people, whatever. And like you get to have more references to horror movies because there's so many references in this which are fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like I want to see more. I want to see more on both ends. I want to see more of the rituals, but I also want to see like an entire like movie where it's just the inner workings of that office and how that works.
Right?
I'd watch like an hour and a half comedy about how that office works.
No, see. Here's my pitch. Movies, we watch the rituals. If you want the inner work, I want a show.
Yeah,
a show which is the inner workings of that, and like each episode is like showing a different department in that area, and it's like an office style show.
I would totally watch the shit out of that. I'm just
I would
saying.
so watch that. That would be so funny.
I would watch the absolute shit out of that.
But no, yeah, there's a lot of references in this one. Like and this is why I chose to do this one after Hellraiser, is because there's a reference to Hellraiser in it, or at least what is probably supposed to be one where, except instead of it being pin face, he's got the saw blade face.
Yeah,
but it definitely feels like it's supposed to be a reference.
For sure, there's no way
to Pinhead.
I mean, the Buckners are Texas Chainsaw Massacre. For sure.
I think so. I think, and the Japanese kids.
That's
they're dealing with a chick. I think she's supposed to be the girl from The Ring.
Either that or The Grudge. I want to say.
Or The Grudge.
Yeah.
But no, I thoroughly enjoy this movie, and yeah, it very much was a palate cleanser.
That one was, I mean, just in when it was out, being able to be like, okay, you have to see this movie if you like horror movies.
I can't tell you why.
I can't tell you why. The second half is really, really good. You're gonna love it. If you just like utter bloody carnage, then it is an absolute blast.
I mean,
it is a bloody movie.
When they release all the monsters and stuff, and there's the unicorn which stabs the guy, and I'm like, oh my god, it's the the final guy is about to die, the guy that bet on mermaids, and the mermaid shows up and kills him.
Oh, I wanted to see one where it was the mermaid. Oh, it was so good. Yeah, and I saw
so good.
That was fun because I had a friend. Two friends where I was like one group of friends where I was like, you guys gotta watch this. And afterwards, like, and then our other friend was there with me. He was like, yeah, he's right, you got it. You can't tell you why. And then every time you'd be like passing along to your friends like, I gotta see this movie. It's wild. You have
to watch this, and I can't tell you why.
Can't tell you why because it'll ruin it. You have to know nothing.
You have to go in blind.
Absolutely.
But no, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Shame Joss Whedon produced it.
I've watched it like I think 3 times now, maybe 4.
I've seen it at least 4 or 5 times. It's such a good
and I enjoy it every time. It's one of I think I would say it's probably one of my favorite horror movies.
Oh, it's definitely one of my favorite horror movies.
But that's
that was the point. Just to double back,
ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves because that's other than maybe one more of mine, probably the most lighthearted movie that we're going to talk
That's
about
where the
today.
fun ends. The one thing I forgot to mention about Hostel, and it's going to be a point I make about one of the Terrifier movies, is I find Hostel to be maybe the scariest movie, one of the scariest movies. Okay, I'm going to put it to you this way: I don't believe in ghosts, really, theoretically, so or demons or any of that stuff. So I don't find those movies scary. They're just a narrative device to me. But the idea of going to Europe or traveling anywhere and trusting someone too much, it's very much a real anxiety of mine, of having someone hey, you should go check out this place, and then there's a guy waiting there with a knife or a gun waiting to mug me. It's very much like
movies like that, or like Human Centipede or Taken, very much have dissuaded me from ever staying in like a youth hostel.
Movies like this have very much dissuaded me from ever wanting to stay in a hostel. I want to stay in a nice, safe hotel, and I will never
in the nice part of town.
And it's like, don't take rides from people. If people offer you anything, don't take it from them. Like movies like this are the reason why I have those anxieties. So it's very much they're real to me. They feel real, like a real thing that can happen. I mean, no, obviously there's not necessarily going to be, maybe not a secret society of murderers, but still, the concept of it, there could be.
It's not an impossibility. There are stranger things in this world. But no, movies like that are kind of why I'm like, it's a perfectly legal company, which is well known, reputable, and like trustworthy. But it's why I'm leery of like Uber and just getting into random people that I don't know's cars.
I feel like that's a good instinct. I feel like that's good. So anyway, I say that to say my next one, because I think this week is Thanksgiving. I'm told, not American Thanksgiving, but good old Canadian Thanksgiving.
Monday is Canadian Thanksgiving.
Good old Canadian Thanksgiving. I watched Thanksgiving, which honestly also done by Eli Roth, but it's not disgusting. I mean, it is. It's really gory. It's really bloody. If you like your slasher movies that have not maybe quite as gory or bloody as the Terrifier movies, but still pretty bloody. There's some interesting kills. And the story of it is very basically, there's a Black Friday sale, and a bunch of people get trampled and killed. In particular, one woman, she gets trampled and killed.
Oh, so it's just real life.
Yeah, pretty much. And the following year, basically the whole thing is they're having this Black Friday sale on Thanksgiving, because Black Friday is supposed to be the day after Thanksgiving. And so there's this big riot.
Okay.
Big old riot. And the next following year, a guy wearing he's a particular person, John something, I don't know the actual figure's name.
John Cena?
No, not John Cena, but it's like a pilgrim mask. He's going around town. He's going around town killing people, killing a bunch of kids. Because the whole thing is the kids, some of the kids got in early and they caused the riot. So he's out for a big revenge. And if you've ever seen Scream, it pretty much follows all the rules of a horror movie villain, where like he has superpowers until you find out who he is. All that stuff. Not going off alone. All that jazz. There's a mystery of who it is. When you find out who it is, it's does kind of a decent reveal. But if you're paying attention, you can figure it out. I'm not going to give it away because it's honestly a pretty decent movie. If you're looking for a decent hack and slash slasher movie that's got a bit more edge to it than something from the '60s, but it maybe isn't a Terrifier. It's not a bad time, and it's not disgusting and reprehensible, and there isn't any sexual assault in it.
Let's split the party.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
That's one of my favorite parts in Cabin in the Woods is when they're inside the cabin or whatever, and Chris Hemsworth character is like, "No, this is wrong. We should split up." And the stoner is like, "Wait, what? Really?"
She said,
"Oh, that's a terrible idea."
Terrible idea.
That's kind of my favorite part of that movie is like them going through all the tropes of a horror movie, and the stoner just being like, "Wait, what? No, the fuck are you talking about?"
So Jordan, are we gonna do the Saw? We're doing the big time Saw time now.
Yeah. So the way that I figured, because two of my I'm doing them together as one have seen, but I was gonna do Saw 1 and 2 as a have seen, and then the other two are Saw 3 and X are rapid fires. So I don't know how you want to do this.
Let's just do them in order.
Okay. So we'll do the Saws, and then we'll do my other have seen.
Yeah, we'll do.
We'll do the Saws, and then we'll do one of your have scenes, and then we'll do my other have seen.
Well, I might have. It's just Terrifier, so we'll just do the Saw movies in order of the ones you'd watched.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start with Saw 1.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today's going to be a bit different than normal. Saw 1. So for years, I had to listen to people talk about how the Saw movies in general are torture porn. And after seeing Terrifier, I say they're wrong.
After seeing actual torture porn,
go watch Terrifier, and you'll know what torture porn
or
is.
Hostel.
Or Hostel. I didn't watch
torture
that,
porn.
so I can't speak to that. But Saw 1 in particular isn't that bad.
No.
I mean, arguably the most gratuitous scene in that is when he uses the saw to chop off his own foot.
And they cut away.
They cut away. They don't really. It's not really
that's actually kind of what.
It's more implied.
Not to leap ahead, but that's kind of what makes Saw X kind of not funny, but the bit where he has the chick saw off the leg. It's like, oh yeah, back in Saw 1, we were afraid to show that. But now it's like, yeah, no, it's not. I mean, to be fair, that really has to do with budget. They don't have the money to be disgusting, so they have to get creative and hide it behind camera angles. But
I just
that first one's really tame.
I also just think Saw 1, what makes it part of what makes it so good is the slow buildup.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't just jump into him cutting his foot off. Whereas like in some of the later Saw movies, because they've done the buildup of who Jigsaw is,
pretty much
they kind of just can jump. They just jump straight into the violence. This is kind of more of a slow buildup of like a mystery, a story of like what's going on, how did they get here, how did they get out, and
the big twist that Jigsaw was the guy in the middle blew my mind the first time I saw it. It was like, holy
absolutely.
Shit.
Like you had no reason to suspect that was him.
And that's a fun one because like if you watch it back a second, when you watch it back a second time, you notice he's just like in the background of all those moments earlier in the movie that he was so inconspicuous. You had no reason to like to suspect him of anything. Yeah, exactly.
The actors in it do a pretty good job. Some of Adam's acting is a little bit.
Lee Winnell and his trying to have an American accent, and
I just more meant like he has like 5 kind of like response like
yeah,
kind of, like it's not. It's very over the top.
There'd be some goofy acting in that first movie. I will give you that.
But yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say about this one. It's pretty by the numbers.
It's got a low budget. It's got a real low budget. The original Saw short is the Amanda trap.
Yeah,
that Amanda's in. It's that, but it's Adam instead.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Because he's the Adam is the guy who created Saw.
That I knew. I just didn't know that he was in the original short. Interesting.
Lee Winnell.
Lee Winnell.
Yeah, Lee
Winnell.
Lee Winnell.
What was your scale that you wanted to know?
Oh yeah, is it gross?
No.
It's not even the grossest Saw movie. I mean, that's pretty solidly Saw X, but I kind of bifurcate that into its own category.
I don't think you did. I don't think you answered that for your movies.
Oh yeah, they're fucking disgusting.
And did I do it for Cabin in the Woods?
I think we kind of alluded to that. It was kind of gross, bloody,
kind of gross, but not in the same way.
Not in the same way. No, I wouldn't say it's disgusting.
It's cartoony.
Yeah,
it's cartoony violence, I would say. So yeah, that's Saw 1.
That's Saw 1. Saw 2.
Saw 2. Saw 2 is kind of where we go. they had the budget a little bit more this
A
time,
little
so
bit.
they ramp things up a bit
A
more.
little bit. Well, actually, fun fact about Saw 2. Saw 2 was originally a different script called Hell House that they just slapped Saw shit on top of it. Which once I say that will explain a lot.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It had nothing to do with Saw, and they just slapped the Saw shit, which is to that movie's detriment, obviously.
Yeah. So that one's Saw 2. How do I word this? It's definitely, it ramps it up a bit more. The scene where the girl puts her hands up in and it's got the razor blades and she's bleeding out. That's definitely ramped up from the first one. Or when you have the one guy who's going around slicing people the back of their necks off to get the numbers, and he does it to himself, and it's like, but they still managed to do a fairly decent job of like only alluding to the violence.
Yeah.
Without like directly necessarily showing. Well, honestly, the scene that makes me cringe the most in this one, and that's just because I don't like needles, is probably the one where Amanda gets tossed into the pit of needles.
Ooh, yeah, that makes me go, ooh, no, thank you. Boo, no, thank you.
Even though logical brain Jordan knows those aren't real needles. Like, she's not actually tossed. Like, it's fake. It's not real.
Yeah, it's fake. It's not real. But yeah, that makes me go, ooh.
In terms of the movie, it just makes me go like, I hate needles. And then
my biggest needle was actually in the third one.
The scene where the cop is beating the shit out of Jigsaw, John Kramer.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I know he's a psychopathic murderer, but he has cancer, man.
Right?
It's still, somehow that just doesn't feel okay.
He's still got cancer.
I know he has your son and everything, but like, I'm gonna need you to retard your anger level by like 3 to 4 notches.
Just like
also you're a terrible cop, and cop. You know, you should feel bad about yourself.
My thing with I think this is still in that point where people were like, oh, he's technically not a murderer, before we kind of all settled on he's a murderer. He does a murder. He does a big old murder.
Yeah, I mean, he puts them in the machine, which kills them.
Gives them the slimmest margin by which to escape, and just, I mean, yeah.
No,
we're gonna get to Saw X.
We're like, okay, here's the thing. Even if the best lawyer in the world, if they had him in a court and were trying him, the best lawyer in the world would not be arguing that he was not a murderer. They would at best be murdering that he did like manslaughter. He put them in the machine, which caused them to die. He still killed them, but it's the severity of which he killed them that they would be arguing.
If he had a good lawyer, the lawyer would be like, either he's mentally ill, or he has a brain tumor that's making him do this. It's the cancer that's making him do this. It's made him crazy, which the movies kind of imply. I think in the later ones, kind of imply that it might be a brain tumor that's making him do this.
But
it's of the originals, it's my least favorite one. Like, I think my favorite ones are the third one.
What do you consider the originals?
Like the first 3 or 4.
3 or 4? Okay.
Yeah.
I only watched the first 3. And then saw X.
I like the third one. I think the third one is way more interesting than the second one.
The only reason, okay.
Oh, are we done with are we done with the second one?
I don't. I was gonna say.
Jump into the third one.
Let me finish. I don't disagree. But part of what I like about the second one, which kind of makes it not better necessarily, but easier for me to enjoy, is there's a more clear-cut victim that you can be rooting for. The son's police, like the police's son, he didn't do anything.
Yeah,
he's not, in terms of a horror victim, he is actually a victim.
Yeah,
that you can feel sympathy for. So it's like in terms of like having a hero, I'm using air quotes for those on audio only. A hero of the film, it's the kind of the easiest one to have someone to root for. Would be the strongest selling point I could get for this second one.
I would argue you can argue for the main guy in the third one. I mean, up until the point where he does a murder.
I mean, no, I don't think you can. But we'll get into that one. So that's all I have to say about the second one, unless you have anything else to add.
No, no, no. What about the third one?
So
Oh,
then
I should
there's the
say one thing.
third one.
One thing I should say about the second one. That's where the theory that Dr. Gordon was his secret apprentice originates from.
Interesting.
Because the bit.
Because you find out that the house.
Well, no. Because that's actually I think you find that out later in later movies. No, the reason why is when you see him sewing, the key into the guy's eye, they were like his hands are too steady for a cancer patient, and the only one who would have the level of surgical knowledge would be Dr. Gordon. So that's where the fans got the idea, and then the movies took that idea and ran with it, and they ended up using it.
It was an example of a self-fulfilling prophecy where they were like, you know what, that is great, and we're just gonna make use of that.
We're just gonna borrow that, and yeah, after the third one, we'll do a quick rapid over the last four of them, just real quick, based off purely off of memory.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched those ones, but so the third one though, so it 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 ramps up the violence yet again.
Yeah, that's the one where when they're doing brain surgery, that's one that this one's gross. Like when she's doing brain surgery on him, that's one where I went, stop that, please.
Ironically,
it made me queasy.
Yeah, the part which is grossest to me is the part which is just like an everyday surgery.
Yeah, what's funny is apparently that's only allowed because it's apparently reasonably accurate.
I could believe that. But yeah, seeing the brain is like, that's gross. Like that's gross because it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of the thing that I find more accurate.
The audio listeners, I've also done air quotes.
And I think that's kind of the thing that I've discovered is the more real it is, the worse that it kind of I don't.
Yeah, fair. The more real it looks, the more icky it becomes, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like the twist in this one.
Like the point where the guy is on the rack and it's twisting the bones. Yeah. And like the bones come shooting out, and I'm just like,
stop
yikes.
That.
Like yikes. That is a awful way to go.
Yeah, and then this is pretty well the one where they decided, it was gonna be gross. These movies were gonna be gross.
Yeah, they get progressively worse as time goes on. You argue that this one has the dad is the quote unquote good guy of this one. I don't, because he's a little too filled with rage and willing to let people die. He's a little
too willing to do a murder. I will concede that.
He's not like the detective's son is objectively good. He hasn't done anything. He's not wanting anyone to die. He actively tries to save everyone he can and wants everyone to escape. This guy wants these people dead.
Yeah, he decides to help them just way too late.
Like he wants them dead.
Just like way too late.
But yeah, I mean also Amanda in the second one, in the second one she is like a nice-ish person, and then in this one she's just a raging psychotic bitch.
Yeah, I seem to recall there being a reason for that. Like why she just seems like she's a completely different character in this movie. I don't like her as a character.
I would just assume, I don't remember if they actually said this, but I think in this one she's using drugs again.
Yeah.
I think is the implication.
Yeah, I think they pretty much straight up say it. Yeah, at one point. But no, I like the twist at the end that you find out that the doctor who's been helping them is the guy's wife. I do think that's a fun twist.
Yeah.
And I quite like this one. It's not. I think it's maybe one of my favorites. And the separation would be, Jordan. The first three is the Jigsaw trilogy, and then the second half is the Hoffman saga.
Okay, so yeah, this is the end of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Then.
So the Hoffman saga is the fourth, the fifth. Well, really, it's the fifth, sixth, and seventh, because the fourth is kind of an epilogue, because it's sort of Jigsaw is kind of still in it, and it's when you kind of learn about Hoffman being a thing. And then the fifth, sixth, and seventh one he's the main bad guy, like the main bad guy. And that
oh yeah, and this one ends with he kills John Kramer's throat with the power saw. Then he finds out that Jeff finds out that his daughter was kidnapped.
Yeah,
and he has to do it. He has to do another test, which I think they did in the fourth one.
I think so. No, he dies. I think he ends up dying. I think.
I mean, he's still alive at the end. Hoffman, or not Hoffman,
the dad.
The dad, Jeff.
I think that because like the from what I recall, the fourth one is basically a detective is like becoming Jigsaw or whatever, and the big twist of that one is it takes place at the same time as the third one, and I think the detective walks in and something to do with one of their traps. He ends up dying in the fourth one, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
I'm not mistaken.
But yeah, that's really all I have to say about the third one.
I will say the just to leap ahead to the seventh one before we get to Saw X. Deeply weird fucking movie. The twist at the end, yeah, like Dr. Gordon had been working together with him the whole time. The sixth one is genuinely a bad movie. It's like I think it's like the first time he's going after people out of a sense of revenge. Just like that's the one where all the people he kills are the pharmaceutical people. Like that's all I remember about that one. Is that one's just genuinely not a very good movie. It's not very interesting, and Jigsaw's kind of out of character for most of it.
I just know that after John Kramer dies, these movies kind of just
it's well known that they regretted killing him off. What were you gonna do? You begot why? I mean, my thing is like
back.
Yeah. My thing is like, why did you not have it where it turned out his cancer went into remission, and just had it where the cancer is there in case you want to kill him off eventually, but keep him alive? But yeah, they've been on record as saying they regretted killing him off as early as they did.
I mean, it was kind of a bad choice.
It kind of was. Kill your main villain out of your franchise. Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, yeah. They needed at least, I think, another movie, maybe two, where he was around and training like you see him training an actual apprentice who's not Amanda.
Yeah, who's not Amanda and who doesn't suck. Well, that's what Hoffman was supposed to be, but Hoffman wasn't really all that interesting either.
Hoffman wasn't good either. You needed to see him like training Gordon or something.
Yeah, so that would have been way more interesting. And I will say, the twist of finding out that Dr. Gordon was working with him the whole time. That was kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe they actually did that. Like, that's surprising.
Right?
Yeah, let's...
But, sorry?
I was gonna say, do you want to move into Saw X? Let's see if...
Yeah.
God, what a weird fucking movie.
So...
It's so weird. It's so weird. I watched it the second time, and it was just as weird as the first time.
I watched this just before the stream. And so, okay, this one's weird because it really wants to treat John Kramer like it wants you to forget, because this takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So he still has murdered a bunch of people at this point.
Yeah, he's killed a bunch of people.
And it wants to treat him like he is not a bad guy. Like you're supposed to feel bad.
It's so weird. They want you to sympathize with him. The two funniest scenes in this movie are the one where he's at the orderlies in the hospital, and he sees the orderly, and he fantasizes this whole jigsaw trap for him, and then the orderly decides not to steal, and he's basically like, "Oh yeah, you don't know what you just avoided.
You don't even know how close you were to just being a victim in one of my senseless murder traps.
Oh my god, the things I was about to do to you. They were disgusting. Oh my god.
If you walked away, you would have lost those thieving fucking hands.
Oh my god. No, but seriously, good choice though. You made a good choice. And the guy's just like, what? And then my other favorite scene is the one where he's in the park, just watching the children play, casually just sketching a jigsaw trap, like it's normal. I'm just sketching this death trap, and or the ending when he walks off into the sunset, holding hands with the little Mexican boy
and Amanda.
And this movie is so weird.
Like they're one happy family, and this Mexican kid, as far as he's concerned, he just escaped from this death trap that the scary lady put him and this kind old man into.
Right?
He doesn't know that he's walking off with a
barely
mass
speaks
murderer.
English. He has no idea
He
what's
barely
happening.
speaks English. He has no idea what's happening.
No
so
idea
it's like
what's happening.
it's this weird what who yeah, it's weird. But that being said, to me, it's still nowhere close to the levels of Terrifier.
Yeah, but it's very definitely like trying to be
inspired.
like
it's inspired,
absolutely,
and it wants to be.
It absolutely is like,
to be.
Oh, you want to be disgusting, Terrifier? We did disgusting first. We did it first. Look at how disgusting we are. We're showing them on the leg this time.
Yeah, but see, and so this is the. I don't know how to word this without it sounding weird. Yeah, it shows you the violence a little more than it did in past Saw movies, but it's still tame is not the right word. Restrained, I guess, is the word that I would use.
It's a little less restrained than previous iterations, but I do get what you mean.
I know.
That's what I said. I don't think it's as bad as Terrifier. No, I don't either.
Compared to Terrifier, it's like a 4.
Yeah.
And Terrifier is like a 13.
I maybe would generously say it's a 5. But yeah, that was my thing when people were like saying that people were vomiting when they watched this, and it's as bad as Terrifier 2. And I'm like, the one scene that I would maybe say is when she cuts off her leg, because it just kind of keeps going, and you're like, my God, this just keeps going. She's cutting that leg right off.
Maybe, but in terms of Saw, I mean, by the time you got to Saw 3, when the girl's or Saw 2 even, when the girl's wrist is up in the thing and it's like blood is gushing down, to me that's the same kind of violence.
I mean,
it's just
I don't disagree with you. I don't think Saw X is, but I think Saw is so much.
To
Saw
me,
X is kind of worse than Terrifier in a sense, though, because at least Terrifier doesn't pretend like Art the Clown is a good guy.
That's the only thing that makes Saw X worse, in my opinion, is that it's tonally confusing.
It's so confusing. It's so weird.
It doesn't. It wants you to feel like John Kramer is more, and it. The problem is, and this comes back to the Saw movies in general, of they're trying to introduce this moral question of is there some sense of morality to what John Kramer is doing?
Later Saw movies stopped doing that for this exact reason.
I know. And this wants to hearken you back to that because they realize that killing John Kramer was a mistake, and they want to bring you back to the John Kramer era of things.
I mean,
but because you've done 4 or 5 movies where you've done away with that morality question, it just makes things confusing.
Sure, we gotta talk about the bad guy though, because John Kramer, obviously Jigsaw in this movie, is the good guy now. There now needs to be a bad guy who is worse than him.
He's not the good guy. He's the protagonist.
Whatever. He's the protagonist.
That's a different thing entirely.
There's a protagonist, so now there needs to be a comedically, cartoonishly evil antagonist for him to fight, who is worse than him, but somehow figured out that he was Jigsaw, even though this takes place, as you pointed out, between Saw 1 and 2, and as a person who's recently watched those movies, he's not famous yet at that point.
No, the police haven't figured out who he is yet.
Right? It's not until the second one, really, that they figure it out. That's when they figure out who John Kramer is. But even then, Jigsaw as a media figure, as a famous serial killer in that universe, doesn't exist yet. So she's like, "Oh, you're Jig fucking Saw."
He might have been on the news as having cut out pieces of, because we don't know exactly when between the first and second one this is. So he might have been on the news as the Jigsaw killer.
Yeah, but not him. Famously.
Not a picture of him. Just the Jigsaw killer.
Yeah,
nobody knows who he is.
The whole bit of I figured out you were Jigsaw. What? No, that's dumb. How? Explain yourself.
How did you figure it out?
Show your work. Show your work.
Yeah, maybe if they had a scene where we see her in her office or something, and there's a a cork board which has like piece of paper here with string to here, and we see that like she's obsessively been trying to figure it out. Like if they had put more into it to kind of show that she was like obsessed with the idea of who he is, like, then maybe I could have believed it.
And like there's so many scenes of like weird scenes of him.
As far as we're concerned, as far as we, the audience, are concerned, she did not meet John Kramer until he came there to get this cancer,
Yeah, she was going to scam him for.
Like, so no, you didn't know.
Her plan requires absurd levels of 3D chess that just don't make any sense.
I mean, yeah, we're not even going to get into that and how stupid that part of it is.
I mean, their plan involves stupid levels of, and like, yeah, Shawnee Smith is back, and it's supposed to take, like, she looks 1,000 years older and is wearing a bad wig.
No, yeah, because it's supposed to take place between the first and second one.
Yeah, so she's wearing a bad wig.
She has to try and look like, what, 20 years younger than she currently?
Yeah. I don't know how we could have helped it, but the wig looks bad.
This came out in 2023, and the first Saw came out in 2004. So yeah, like 22 years ago.
Almost 22 years ago, yeah. So like, yeah, the wig, it looks bad. It looks like a bad wig, and I don't know what she's doing. She clearly does not remember this character like at all. It's a horrendous performance. And her relationship with Jigsaw is weird. It's all weird. It's so, that's just like my biggest note. It's so weird. It is so weird.
Yeah. This is apparently there's a sequel scheduled for release on September 26, 2025.
And there's two ideas for sequels. There's one because she escapes at the end, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think she escapes at the end, and so there's the idea that she's now the bad guy. It's about beating her, and then there was one where it was going to be a Hoffman. What's going on with Hoffman? But yeah, apparently Tobin Bell has said that he's coming back as John Kramer for Saw 11, I guess is what it's going to be called. But supposedly he's coming back. I don't know how and I don't know when, but unless they're going to be like, he did another adventure while being a cancer patient during 1 and 2 somehow.
Cecilia kills Parker, but can only watch as John, Amanda, and Carlos exit the facility, leaving her trapped. Sometime later, Henry awakens in a dilapidated bathroom with a new trap strapped to his stomach, overseen by John and Mark Hoffman. So Cecilia appears to die by all accounts, but like in a horror movie way, where we don't actually know. Yeah. And then Henry is in a trap, so they could both come back.
They could theoretically come back. But yeah, that's it. I don't have any more thoughts. That's it. Saw X. That's it.
No, that's Saw. That's the Saws.
Is that so? Now we do Terrifiers.
Well, I have one more have seen.
Okay, let's do it then.
Which is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
God, I love that movie. The movie's so good.
Because after watching the first two Terrifiers, I watched this because I needed, after watching Terrifier 2.
The movie gives you false hope because she is too hot for him.
I needed a palate cleanser. This movie is a lot of fun.
College kids.
I love the point where they're inside the cabin and Dale says to Tucker, oh, what are we going to do? Phone the cops and say, well, gee, officer, these teens just started showing up on our property and started killing themselves. Like, it's not about what happened. It's about what it looks like. It doesn't look good.
My favorite part of the police officer shows, well, officer, funny thing happened. The college kids that showed up and just started killing themselves. Who would have figured? There's apparently a cut somewhere.
How stupid do you think I am?
There's a cut somewhere. At least I thought I read somewhere. There's a cut somewhere where it's entirely from the college kid's perspective, and it's cut completely differently. Yeah,
that's funny. The college kids are psychotic.
No, I mean the one's psychotic because he's part hillbilly,
and then he talks the rest of them into being psychotic.
Exactly. There's a lot of ones. One of my favorite ones is the black guy who runs in. He's like, oh, just trips into
jumps into the pit and impales himself, or the one which jumps into the grinder or whatever.
Yeah. Like, oh no, oh no.
Apparently, in an interview with Choice Cuts, director Eli Craig expressed thoughts on a sequel titled Tucker and Dale Go to Yale and described it as Good Will Hunting meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I would totally watch that. I'd watch a sequel to this. It's fun.
And apparently, a South Korean remake titled Handsome Guys was released in South Korea, June 26, 2024.
Handsome guys. I mean, they're not really handsome guys.
Fuck you. They're perfectly handsome hillbillies.
I suppose that's true.
But that's really all I have to say about this one. This one's it's just another fun one. If you're looking for fun, gratuitous violence, and that's not upsetting.
Yeah, that movie is very fun. It's very fun, and
so,
it's nice to see kind of a not conventionally handsome dude get a beautiful woman in the end.
Right.
I feel like that's a victory for all of us.
So, with that being said, that is all of my have scenes.
Yeah.
All of my have not scenes are Terrifiers.
Okay,
so I guess without further ado,
talk about some Terrifier movies. So
we have to get traumatized. We're gonna reopen those wounds.
Let's do this in order. We're gonna do this in order. So,
of course we are.
To start off with, you're thinking that the first movie that Art the Clown made its appearance in is Terrifier 1, I'm guessing.
I mean, you mentioned that there were short films and stuff like that. So
yes.
if you're asking me specifically, no, because you have already informed me otherwise. If you're asking the royal we or you, then yes, us the audience probably don't know that. You should continue.
So, Art the Clown first appeared in 2 shorts called The Ninth Circle and Terrifier, which is what the movie's named after. And those were combined with an additional 2 other segments into a movie called All Hallows Eve. And the basic framing device of this movie, it's about an hour and 24 minutes, which, as it turns out, is the correct length for one of these movies. And it's a babysitter. She's babysitting 2 kids. And one of the kids finds a tape, and they all claim they all sort of involve Art the Clown in some way. Like the middle one doesn't really, but so the first one is the original Ninth Circle short, which is basically the woman. There's a woman. I believe, she's reading somewhere. She runs into Art the Clown. Art the Clown fucks with her with he has the bag, the plastic bag, and the around the horn. He fucks with her a bit, and then he drugs her and kidnaps her. And she wakes up in a room chained to like a wall with like 3 other girls. And the segment is basically the girls are freaking out about where they are, whatever. They're trying to escape, and then eventually this weird deformed guy shows up and like starts chopping them apart. And then this evil cult shows up, and Satan appears and rapes the one girl, and that's the first segment. And the whole thing is, I forgot to mention the framing device. So the framing device is, it's a babysitter who's babysitting these 2 kids who have just come back from trick-or-treating, and they find a VHS tape in their trick-or-treating candy, and the boy is like, I want to watch this tape, and they're watching this tape, and they see this first section, and the babysitter's like, yeah, no, you're not allowed to watch this. And they're like laughing at it. They think it's funny. Like there's a part where like Art the Clown chases her around, and they're like, oh, we thought the part where Art the Clown chased her around was so funny. Ha 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 ha. And then they watch the second section, or she puts the kids to bed, the kids go to bed, and she watches the second section, which is like, it's a woman, she's in the house by herself, and her husband is a painter, an artist, and he like has a nightmare about Art the Clown and wakes up in like the middle of the night and just paints a picture of Art the Clown. And an alien shows up and like terrorizes her for a bit and then eventually kills her. And then that's the second one. And then the final one is the original Terrifier short, which is kind of interesting because it's a bunch of the shit that they would eventually do in the movie. So the original Terrifier short is this woman. She shows up at like a creepy gas station, and she tries to buy gas, and the gas station attendant is busy dealing with Art the Clown, who has smeared shit all over the walls in the bathroom. This may sound familiar to you. And he tells him to get out of here, and Art the Clown, like, he like runs off, and the gas station attendant helps the girl, and all of a sudden they hear a bang, and they go inside, and the gas station attendant doesn't come back, and she goes inside, and Art the Clown is like torn him apart and like ripped him apart essentially, and is like killing him, and she's like and she runs away, and she keeps like trying to escape him but can't. Like she keeps running into him, like, and eventually she's driving, and he like is in the car behind her, like has the plastic wrap and like wraps it around her face. And there's another point where like he's whipping her with like the weird nine tails he used in the movies. And then at another point she goes, and it's like you could tell the stuff he was proud of. So you know the gross she's fucked up chick in the first one.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of people that are fucked up and gross in these.
Yeah, the one who's on the talk show.
Yeah.
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 He was very clearly proud of that effect, because that effect shows up in this movie where like she goes to there's this car, and this she sees this woman is hunched over, and she's like tapping on the window, and the woman turns around, and she's like got that face, and her fingers are all cut off, and she's all fucked up looking. And then eventually Art the Clown gets her and like dismembers her body, so like she has no arms and legs, and she's like got all these like swear words and shit like cut into her and stuff. And it cuts back to the babysitter, and because she's watched this tape, Art the Clown, he like now capable of appearing in the real world. And this movie kind of implies that he's a demon kind of spirit clown creature that is like haunting this videotape essentially. And it ends with, and it's what makes people's indignation to the third one kind of interesting, because it ends with there's a scream, and she goes running upstairs, and she opens the door, and the babysitter, and she finds the kids. They've all been hacked up, and they're all in body parts all strewn across the all across the bedroom. And I can't remember if she gets killed in the end. I think she ends up getting killed in the end, and then it ends. That's it. That's All Hallows Eve. I've made it sound more unpleasant than it is. It's not as bad as the later stuff. It's not as bad as Terrifier 1. Like the original Terrifier sketches is like about on the level of like a particularly like regularly measured horror movie. Like it's trying to go for like jump scares. I will say this about the Terrifier movies: they never do jump scares. Like they don't do jump scares, at least not in my opinion. Nothing I would consider a legit jump scare anyway. Would you agree? Disagree?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that.
It's more focused on the gore and violence than it is on the jump scare.
Do we maybe want to we'll grade these on a curve of like, so in terms of the rest of these, it's the least gory. Like you would find it tolerable. And it's interesting to see where, because he's not played by the guy who plays him in the actual movies. It's a different actor. And
interesting.
Yeah, he's more. What's interesting is when he first shows up, he's not a creepy clown. He honestly just looks like a regular clown. Later on in the movie, he eventually kind of becomes a creepy clown. But when he first shows up at the beginning of All Hallows Eve, he's not like the way he is in Terrifier, where he's immediately an off-putting creepy clown in the movie.
I mean, You're wrong, because all clowns are creepy.
I don't know.
There's no such thing as a clown that's not creepy. Clowns, by their very nature, are creepy.
I don't agree with that.
And off-putting, and just no. I don't. I've never understood or gotten who clowns are for, because they freak the fuck out of most children, and a good portion of adults don't like them either.
Well, if it makes you feel better, he's not immediately sinister looking.
Okay, that's a very different statement.
Unlike the first movie, which we might as well jump into the first movie. Yeah, the first movie where he's just immediately sinister looking, and it's like, I would not even remotely go near that guy. That guy looks unsafe. He's giving me red flags even before he gives me the red flags.
So I want to go on record as we jump into the ones that I've seen, because I only watched the 3 of them. I will only watch the 3 of them. I have no desire to watch any more of these things. I want to go on record here and say I don't like these movies.
That's completely fair. I don't think that's unfair.
I didn't realize that I had a limit when it came to violence, because it's never really. I've watched plenty of horror movies, like plenty of them over the years, and they've never really bothered me because they're not real.
Yeah.
Right? Like they don't. But and you articulated this better than me, so I'll let you kind of explain where a large part of my distaste for them comes from. But part of it for me is just that the gratuity of the violence, I don't think, services the plot or the story. And at a certain point, it's just gratuitous and it's unnecessary, and I don't find it fun. Like a lot of these horror movies, like the Saw movies, what makes those fun is the, I don't want to say the knowledge that like it could never happen.
Yeah,
but
I mean, some movies have a level of, like, the thing with the Saw movies is it. I mean, the later ones are that's kind of what makes those ones bad. Is people who don't deserve it start to get it, but for the most part, the people who get it, the point you were trying to make, and the thing that's kind of the thing that upsets you is with a lot of, and we said it earlier, but with slasher victims, they usually deserve it in some capacity, or they suck. Cartoony. And like there were ones in the third one. I mean, until it kind of goes too far, not to jump ahead to the third one, but there were ones in the third one where these characters suck, and at a point I'm like, you know what? I kind of can't wait for Art the Clown to get them. I think I said that at one point. Or like,
there's a few, there's
a few of them where like they're cartoony enough in the third one where it didn't bother me. My thing with Terrifier movies and the big, because there's some kind of fun. Okay. We're gonna say fun because there isn't a better word. Yeah,
entertaining.
Like what he does to the pizza shop guys. I'm like, oh, that's not that bad. It's gross. It's gnarly, but it's not that bad. It doesn't go. I don't want to say too far. The third one hit some notes of me of going too far.
There's some points over the course of these movies where
there's a bit, and that's where
it's like. I struggle with these movies because there's things in there to like.
Yeah.
I just think the violence goes too far.
My thing is like
I'm not like you. I think the violence goes too far at points, to the point where it's not needed. You don't need to push it. And yes, that's the point, is that like that's what people are going to these to watch, is because it goes to that length. But I don't think it needs to. I think you could achieve the same story without the grotesqueness of it.
Yeah, my thing is it like it does this, I don't know how to describe, oscillating thing of like it goes from being too far to so silly it's hard to take it seriously, when it's like I say, not so much in this first one, a little bit when it's like you're seeing him get through it thing. And it's like you're at the point where it's clearly no longer a person. It's just a dummy that you're using corn syrup on. But then it goes back to looking like a human. But I think from what I can tell, because the thing about All Hallows Eve and not so much this one, but definitely the second and third one, is they're very much an homage to a particular kind of movie. Like they're an homage to like 70 like 1970s exploitation grindhouse, like gross violent movies. Like they're meant to be an homage, which is why I think the third one is. We're gonna get to the third one, but that's what they're kind of an homage to, and I think the first one is really effective of that. Like, because to be fair, the first one is not a mainstream movie. It's an independent film that not a lot of people have seen.
They tried to fund using like Indiegogo or something like that, is what I read.
Yeah, like that. And all those first two shorts I talked about, they went to YouTube. So like, yeah, this is like a small, which is why I'm more forgiving of the first ones, for lack of a better word, eccentricities,
graphicness.
Yeah, just like weird inclinations. But no, that what Jordan was alluded to earlier is that the victims in this don't deserve it. But my argument for the difference between this and Hostel is, like, unlike Hostel, where a lot of it is victims just tied, all of it is victims tied to chairs. At least some of this, like, you know, the exterminator guy tries to fight back against Art. The girl who we think is, this one's kind of this first one's kind of clever in the sense that the girl we think is the final girl doesn't end up being the final girl. Like, I appreciated that.
Yeah,
that was kind of clever.
Yes, maybe they have a little, like, a little agency and they can fight back, but ultimately, and this is my problem with all of these movies, is sure, maybe they fight back, but this movie revels in the violence.
A little bit.
It absolutely revels in it, and like, people for years said that Saw was torture porn.
Yeah.
This is torture porn.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. I don't care what arguments you bring to the table. This is torture porn. Some of the scenes that I can't go into detail in on YouTube are absolutely torture porn.
I can't necessarily disagree with that assessment. I guess my point is, like, because the idea behind Art is he's effectively he's doing clown.
Are there worse examples of torture porn? Sure, but then if we're breaking down, there are, when it comes to pornography, there are levels.
Yeah,
there's levels. So is this at the top level? Sure, but it's still in that category as far as I'm concerned.
But the thing with Art the Clown, just generally as a character, the idea behind him, the joke is that he is doing clown. He's doing clowning. So, like, he's doing stuff like he's presenting as if he would present a magic trick or an effect or like a scarf. That he's treating violence as though it were clowning, and that's where the humor is supposed to be. I'm not saying that that's right, or that, I'm just saying that's the point of his character, and I think that's what makes him memorable. Is that yeah, there are, and not so much. I will say that one of the funnier moments.
This is where I'm gonna throw in another hot take about this, and I don't care what anyone says. He's not a clown. He's a mime. He's miming. He's not a clown.
Well, to be fair, he is to a degree a mime. That is not because David Howard Thornton, who, by the way, is an amazing performer.
Oh, I want to say,
just phenomenal performance.
I want to throw this in at this point, just because I don't care for these movies and I don't like these movies. I do want to state they are effective at what they are setting out to do.
Yeah,
they are setting out to be gross and be violent and be upsetting.
Yeah, exactly.
And they are doing all of those phenomenally. The fact that it taught me that I have a limit is impressive.
Right.
Because, like I said, I've watched a lot of horror movies and I've never felt the emotions that this made me feel.
I'm gonna take a quick side tangent for just a brief moment, because I saw this okay, number one, Terrifier 3 is dominating Joker 2 in the box office, which is I didn't want that to taint your opinion of the third one. I just thought that was interesting. But here's a pitch for you. The actor who plays
that's upsetting but not surprising, because I hear Joker 2 is terrible.
Yeah. The actor who plays Art the Clown, he wants to play the Joker.
Oh.
I'm kind of into it.
I need to let that sit with me for a little bit.
But like, if he's gonna do it, I want okay. I'm gonna do I'm gonna pitch you two versions of it, okay? And I want to, because I haven't heard his clown voice, but I kind of want him to do a clown prince of crime, like Mark Hamill style Joker. Like, don't do the. I'm done with the grotesque Heath Ledger Jokers. I want to go. I want to get back to clown prince of crime Joker. We have two versions of it. I want to tell you. I want you to tell me which one you like better. He's silent and he's more like Art the Clown, or he speaks.
I need to hear his voice.
I'd have to hear his voice too. That's where I'm at for that. But I just as something kind of different. I can kind of be like down for an Art the Clown style Joker who's
I don't see the I don't from all the different versions of the Joker that I've seen. I've never seen a silent version of him. So on the one hand I would be interested to see that.
Right?
But
just experimentally I'd be interested in that.
Like maybe like a demo trailer or a demo video or something to see something like that. But for a full movie, I think he has to talk.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't necessarily. But anyway, Terrifier 1. So the big set piece of Terrifier 1 is earmuffs for the chillins. You see a lady get sawed in half, and it's really brutal and it's really unpleasant, and it goes on for a very long time.
Yeah, we're not going to go into the exact details of that. That's as much as we're going to say to stay YouTube friendly.
But it's unpleasant.
It's upsetting.
It's interesting to me though that you said that you felt that was the most unpleasant out of the three. There's some stuff in the third one
that scene. Okay. It's hard for me to say that empirically because the first one is so much shorter than the other two.
Yeah.
So the other two have more time and more real estate to have upsetting scenes in there. But just if we were to do like a scene by scene, like what has the most upsetting scene, singular scene, I think this is it.
Because that's the one where I looked away. Like it got a certain length of into it, and I was like, please stop. I get it. I get it. Please stop. I don't need this. Please stop.
It's either this or there's a scene in there. There's a particular scene in the third one which might take the cake for me.
There's some pretty bad ones in the second one. There's some pretty bad ones in the second one. The third one, I mean,
there's bad ones. There's bad ones in all of them. It's just really about what your particular thing that you don't like is more than another.
Yeah. And it's really that case of like these girls don't deserve this, man. They just don't.
None of the characters. None of the characters in these. None of the characters in these movies really do, other than maybe the third one.
Though I will say one thing that'll make you feel better. Before we get into the second one, which is that you said the first one was boring. And
I think it is.
I saw another person say that online, that they thought it was boring and it was just violent for the sake of being violent. And hey, I was like, that'll make Jordan feel better because he's not. I told you, you're not alone, and you're not. That's not I do not believe that to be an invalid opinion.
I think that the watch order should be. I think the watch order should be 2-1-3.
We'll get to it. But I do think that there's stuff here to be interested in if you like disgusting horror movies. If you don't like disgusting horror movies, this very specific, ultra specific genre of movie, no, I would only recommend this to a very specific subset of person.
And see, this is where it's interesting because while I do think all of them, to a degree, are torture porn, really specifically, if I had to point to one, if you asked me of the three to say which one is specifically torture porn, it would be the first one because there's really nothing else to this movie.
No, it's just he chases them around and he slices them up and it's really violent. That's kind of it.
Yeah, but like the other two at least have like the semblances of a plot.
And to be fair, you're not wrong, and it's interesting because the first time I didn't really care for the second one because I find and I'm going to say complimentary things about the third one, but one of the things I liked was how it kind of confirmed this. I find the first one scary in air quotes because theoretically that could happen. Some weird sicko in a clown costume or mime costume, I'll humor you, could decide to fuck with you for a night, right? like
I mean,
while you're
that
out
has
drunk
happened.
in the middle of that has happened to people exactly. So like it's a believable. For me, I became decidedly less interested in him when he kind of and I kind of maybe missed the fact that he becomes a ghosty character at the end of the first one. But in the second one, when I don't like the pale girl. I don't like her. I don't like her as a character. I don't like the fact that he has a little sidekick the entire second movie. I just
She was
don't.
confusing.
Yeah, and to be fair, the third one really irons out a lot of exactly what she is for the better of this franchise. Definitely, like I think he definitely didn't know what. But yeah, so I like the and I entered the second one. Everyone kept promising that the quote bedroom scene was way worse than anything in the first movie. And well, yes, having seen it a second time, it is unpleasant as hell. I just don't think it's as bad as that first movie. I just don't. Now, the third one, there was some stuff that was as bad as the first movie for me, but we'll get there. The second one, I just nothing in that movie really. I guess you put it really well. You've had a really lot of astute observations this week. Where you're like, maybe it's because I watched the first one and my body was just primed for unpleasantness. That did kind of happen a lot in the third one.
What?
I was like primed for it to be unpleasant. Like it didn't shock me because I'd already seen.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of my thing with these movies.
It kind of just washes over you. We're like, no, nothing's as bad as seeing the lady get sawed in half.
I find, and this is kind of I have a lot of issues with this movie, but they're not as strong as they were last night after watching the third one. Last night was a lot. Yeah, we'll get there.
We're gonna get there.
Are we still? So wait, are we still on the first one, or have we moved to the second one?
We're on the second one now. The second one.
Okay.
So real quick before we jump into the second one, number one thing is, Jordan hated the first one. And I was like, I feel like the second one's really gonna do it more for you. And I got about 5 minutes into the second one. And I was like, yeah, no, Jordan's gonna like this better because there's actual like story and characters and backstory.
Yeah, it's just the first one. Nothing really. It's just a lot of violence for the sake of violence, and I've known for years that I'm not into that. Like I'm not into just like scenes of violence, scene after violent scene with no substance story in between.
Yeah.
So that's mainly what the first one is, and it just doesn't do it for me. And it was confusing because I got to the end and he shoots himself in the head and then comes back to life. And I'm like, okay, so wait, what is, and I had to ask you that the next day where I was like, what is he? Like,
Demon
is
clown?
he a man? Is he a demon? Because like the entire movie, I thought he was a guy.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to life and it just left me confused.
Yeah, the second movie implies that he gets brought back to life by this demon, which has taken the form of the
so that's what I appreciate about the third one is they kind of just confirm that.
Yeah. They he basically it takes the form of the first little girl he killed, and it's really unclear. And we're introduced to his actual final girl, whose name is completely escaping me, and her dad dreamt of Art the Clown and created a magic sword for her with which to defeat Art the Clown.
The girl is Sienna Shaw.
Sienna Shaw, that was it. Oh yeah, a funny moment, for lack of a better, funny moment in the first one that I quite like is where like he's getting sick to death of shooting, like chasing her around, and just out of nowhere he just takes out a gun and shoots her. He's just like he's just got this look of like he like just done with today. He was like, oh fuck this, bam, and then he's just out of nowhere he's a gun guy now.
But yeah, the second one definitely follows more of your standard slasher movie where it's like you got your hero girl, you've got the like he's a demon clown now, like the rules are a little more defined.
Right. And she gets to fight back, which is way more, again, you're right, way more interesting when your characters have a tiny bit of agency. Like she actually gets to fight him at the end.
But it's just it and this is kind of something that I came to realize is it's just I understand that the point is the gratuitousness of it. That's what people are coming to this for. But I don't think it makes this stronger. I don't think it's better for having done that.
I don't for this second one, because it's still kind of an unknown quantity. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Like, I understand why you do it in the first one, because that's how you got funded.
Yeah,
that's how you got people to do it. That's how you get into it. But now with this one, you're becoming more mainstream. To me, this is the one where you step away from that.
Well, no, see, to me, the second one is the one where you escalate and it becomes 3 times as big, and then the third one is where you tame down, because but also these movies are known for being
to me
violent.
This is where.
But that's what they wanted. That's what studios wanted. Studios wanted them to tame down, and he didn't want to. He didn't want to tame down.
I think they should have.
But this is also the one where they very much are like, Art is a comedic character, and he's got a dark sense of humor, and like he's fucked up, and this is kind of the moment where they were like, he has there's a lot of moments that are funny. Like I'd be lying if I said he wasn't, like where he's fucking with the chick at the and he's got the glasses at the store, or like he shows up at her place and he's like trick-or-treating. He's like insistently trick-or-treating. Well, like,
that's where I say, like, that's where I say
something funny about like an upsetting clown doing funny clown shit.
This movie is at odds with itself, because all the things that you're describing, the fun clown parts or mime parts, whatever you want to call them,
sort of disgusting, undercut by him tearing apart a girl in a bedroom.
Well, yeah, they're very much at odds with that other stuff.
Yeah,
where
I know what you mean.
The stuff that I like about this movie is the stuff that are more like your standard slasher movie.
Yeah,
like that's what you're describing is stuff that would be in like your standard like Jason movie or Freddy movie or like Chucky movie, where it's the slasher villain having a personality and being sadistic and being like cruel and like being a character. That's the stuff that makes a slasher movie fun.
My thing is like,
right? So to have that then paired with, again, I'm going to keep using this term to describe it because I believe that's what these movies are. To pair that with torture porn, it puts it at odds with itself, because to me they're too complete. They don't mix.
I don't mind the like, you slice the guy's arm off, you slice the guy's head off, or don't clip this out of context. But it's like the additional like 5 minutes, like, where it's like quick, it happens, it's bloody, and it's immediate. It's like, I don't need it's the additional 5 to 10 minutes of him like pulling apart, because at a certain point, especially in this one and the third one, like there's points where it's like he does that, and it's just very clearly a dummy. Like in this one where the mom comes in post bedroom scene and she's somehow still alive and is very clearly like a dummy, and it just doesn't look real. Like it pushes beyond the fact where it's disgusting, and it also no longer looks real. And again, I don't know if maybe that's intentional, so you realize it's not real, but it becomes too much. Where it's like, I don't need these movies would be 30 minutes shorter if Art the Clown didn't spend 20 years pulling apart people's bodies.
Well, that's where I say, like, also, for me,
it's too long.
It's not the killing, it's the reveling in it, and it's not even that, like, it for me. And I later last night I kind of came to this realization. It's not the fact that it feels like Art the Clown is reveling in it. He's a demon clown. He should be reveling.
He's allowed to do that.
At a certain point, it feels like the directors and the people that are making the movie are reveling and glorifying it, and that's where my issue lies.
I mean, it does feel like a franchise that exists to be like, oh, you thought we did it bad last time. You want some real fuck? We're gonna really fuck up shit this time. That's kind of what it feels like. Especially with the third. It's just funny. Again, maybe it's because. Well, okay. It's also too long. It's too long. This is all
building up to the third one.
Yeah, it's too long. It's the longest of the three, and it's too long. It's an hour 24 is the perfect length for these movies. It is too long. It goes on for it goes on for an eternity.
Most slasher movies aren't that long. No. That's kind of the thing. Like they're not a franchise.
I was okay
they're not a franchise.
Third one being 2, but even that's too long.
they're not a genre which lend themselves to a long movie for a
No,
reason.
for a reason, because it gets tiresome. It's like, yeah, that movie feels like it's 1,000 years long. But yeah, it definitely has more money, and it's a bit more vibrant. It's also way more 70s coded in its like filmography and how it looks. And like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, the third one. So the third one, unless you had anything else to say about the second one, because I'm also kind of running out of time.
I mean,
Um,
it's bad.
it's yeah, okay, the third one. So the third one,
They're all bad.
the third one begins with a story. So the third one, we had to drive 30 minutes out of our way to watch it. Number one, 30 to 45 minutes out of our way to a second town over from us to go watch it. Number two, number one. Number two, we're sitting in there, we're about to watch it, and we've both had to watch two of these movies. Again, I watched the second one that morning. I had to finish it because I fell asleep the night before. So my brain had already been soaked with Terrifier. And what did I say early on, Jordan? Don't watch two of these movies in a row. Did I not say that?
And don't watch two in one day. Yeah.
Don't watch two in one day. So we're sitting there.
I watched them like Friday. I watched one, and then Saturday I watched another, and even that felt like too much.
They pollute your soul. So we're sitting there waiting for Terrifier to start, and out of nowhere, 3 6-year-old children walk up the stairs, followed by with their parents, followed by another family which had like a 14 to 15-year-old and another with like a 16-year-old. And we looked at each other and we went, "Are we in the right theater?
Did we walk into the wrong theater by accident?"
And for legit, like, we're not, no exaggeration, most of the previews, we thought we were in the wrong movie. It wasn't until the trailer for Screamboat Willie came up and like they were saying F-bombs that we're like, no, we're pretty sure we're in the right movie.
And but, I lean in and make the joke, a family-friendly Mickey movie for your family.
But they were like, it was awful. And okay, Terrifier 3.
They were way too young for these movies, man.
Terrifier 3 is unpleasant, and there are some truly unpleasant kills in this movie. It does clarify a lot of stuff, like Jordan said. It clarifies a ton of stuff about Art the Clown. I really appreciated that they sort of definitively stated he was just a random psycho who the demons just kind of picked. They're not like, okay, the pale girl's a demon. I don't like the character. I don't like how she was represented. I don't like that. The climax of this movie just kind of devolves to her monologuing for like way too long, and it's just monologuing while Art the Clown like mugs in the background, and it just doesn't work. Like, this character doesn't work when he mugs like that. It's not working.
It's a little confusing in terms of her, because like you and I both watched the same movie and had like different interpretations of what was going on there, because I interpreted it like they were both the demon that's possessing Art the Clown, and the demon is just using her as a mouthpiece.
Oh yeah,
but it's both the same people.
But no, what I'm saying is Art the Clown is the personality, like that's what Art the Clown was like in life, is what I'm saying. Like, his personality has not changed. That's just
no, but they're both possessed by the same.
Yeah, demon. No, absolutely, they're both possessed. Well, how they describe it in this is Art the Clown is a gateway for the demon to be here, or it's like a focal point. So I don't think it's being possessed by the clown so much as he's made a deal with the demon to constantly live, and his murder spree is allowing the demon to exist in his world. Because I think because the demon seemed to basically enjoy watching him murder, and I think the chick died when she slit her wrist in the bathtub. I think she died there.
I don't know. All I know is that this movie is upsetting. There's so much upsetting stuff.
It's so many more scenes of like Art the Clown does something unpleasant. It cuts to him like. Art the Clown does something unpleasant. He mugs at the camera. Art the Clown does something, and like all of the scenes go on for 3 times as long. And there's just so many more. I will say, yeah, there's one character who has a true crime podcast who like she's awful, and I went, yeah, she was an example of a slasher villain a character who kind of deserved to get it.
One of the only ones this franchise has.
And the Santa Clauses. That scene was fun. Like, it wasn't so gross that it was unpleasant, and it wasn't so like upsetting, and just his interactions with them were genuinely funny.
Yeah. So, how do I word this? If I'm looking at it now, a little bit more removed from it than I was last night. It I don't know how to put this into words. It's not as bad as I felt last night.
Yeah. Okay, we cannot stress to you enough watching this, because this stuff is distressing. Like, all of the stuff in these movies is distressing, but it's compounded and made all of them.
Part of the problem is it's hard to describe. Like, I can't describe to the audience why it's upsetting without going into some of the details, and I can't do that on YouTube.
He does bad stuff to kids and to adults. Bad things to people in gruesome, bloody, awful ways.
And it's unpleasant to watch. And as I'm watching it, all I can think about in the back of my mind is there's a family of like 3, 6 to 7 to 8-year-olds, like in that age range, up there, watching this movie. And I'm like,
they don't know it's not real.
This.
Yeah, it's upsetting.
I'm upset watching this. Like, I'm a capable 32-year-old adult who is capable of realizing that this isn't real. But there's this scene. Like, okay, to get into one scene. There's no.
I'll let you do one. I'll do one.
There's the scene where the demon girl is in the bathtub and she grabs the shard of glass and right
up Main Street.
Like, I'm capable of watching this as an adult and know, don't do this at home.
Right?
Don't take a sharp thing and run it up your arm. Do you think the 6, 7, 8-year-old is going to be capable? No, you don't. And then there's just also like that. Like, as I'm watching, I'm thinking to myself, so if this mom and dad think are okay enough to bring their kid out to watch this in public, what do they have them watching in private? And it's working me up as I'm watching this upsetting movie, and it's making an upsetting movie even more upsetting because I'm thinking of all the moral implications of, do I go over there and confront these parents? Do I somehow try to like, what steps do I mean, as a
responsible person? Like you're sitting there, you're like, I cannot stress how much it ruins this movie, because every scene between the grisly murders is like a reprieve of having to picture this poor 6-year-old child 3 rows up from you. Like, the opening scene is grisly, but it takes a minute to build, and it's like it's a tense scene of him like slowly working his way up, and like I will give this movie this, and it is not a consolation in any capacity, but at least you never see him kill a kid. Like, you see dead kids, and it's not a consolation in any fashion, but you never actually see him kill any kids. You just see dead kids. But it's not to say that on the big screen with like the sound design of this movie, the first thing you hear is whack, and then
squelch.
Yeah,
squelch.
And you're like, all you can think about, is thankfully and I almost said something to the ticket taker at the front at the podium, but somebody was already saying something, and I caught the mid conversation, the guy going like, of the they're playing, be like, they're with parents, there's nothing we can do, it's not against any rules. And the guy goes, but it's got to be against some sort of moral rules. And he turned to these parents and he was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, oh my God, from your mouth to God's ears. Like, dear Lord, there's, I can't describe to you half of it. And we've already described too much of it. But I will say that, there's stuff that the stuff between him and the dad. It's sort of odd to me that the brother just kind of disappears from this movie. Like, he gets killed off screen. Like, there's a lot of interesting shit. The ending definitely leaves you on a cliffhanger of like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Like, it's like Jordan said, it's a movie at odds with itself, because it has all this interesting story it wants to tell, but it needs to be extreme because that's what it's known for.
Yeah, and so it puts me in a uncomfortable position where it's like, when inevitably, because it ends on a brutal cliffhanger, and inevitably when the next one comes out, I want to know how the story ends. But it's the question of, am I willing to sit through what I think is an unreasonable amount of violence to get to that story? And no, I don't think I am. I think I'll probably just look up on Wikipedia to see how the story turns out.
I see what you're saying, but also like maybe more removed from this, you might disagree. Also, like, and this is an argument I would definitely make. There's a big difference between 1 and 3 of these. Like and knowing what you're getting, knowing what you're getting into, knowing what I was getting into, definitely prepared me for it. And like, I hate to hold the fact that some moronic parent brought their child to this against this movie. I really do. But like, maybe if I were at home and I weren't surrounded by public and I didn't feel slightly ashamed that I was watching this, like maybe I would feel differently. Like, because some of the sequences were fun. Like, yeah, like I say, the scene with Santa where he steals the Santa Claus suit is legitimately a fun sequence. Like, the guy who plays Art the Clown says it's his favorite scene, and I absolutely see why.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do want to state, for the listening audience, for whatever brave soul might be brave enough to go and watch this movie.
Take your kids.
What I was gonna say is it's hard for me to talk about the third one because I don't think I'm being objective.
I disagree. Like, I think your opinions are very valid.
No, but I mean, I'm not thinking about the movie.
Oh yeah, if you're so fixated on the experience.
I'm thinking about as I'm watching this scene, the feelings and emotions I was thinking of, knowing that there was a family of 6-year-olds up there.
Yeah, it does.
So it's like shame. I'm not thinking about, like, I can't, because as I was watching this movie, that's all that was in my mind.
Yeah.
That's all that I was thinking. And so it's like, I it's not like I'm thinking about this, and that's where I would have preferred to watch this at home.
I would have,
because then it's just
definitely would have preferred to watch it at home.
And my emotions and what I'm thinking of while I'm watching this movie, instead of at the theater, me thinking about this external force that has nothing to do with the movie, and that being in my brain the entire time as I'm watching it.
My desire to watch this in theater was one, a curiosity. B, I mean, I'm shameless to be one of the ones who was there, and C, to gain access to it quicker. But if I could get this on streaming, I would absolutely be. And like, yeah, it's like I said, it's good at what it does. But yeah, I'm excited to get to next week.
Not watch these anymore.
to be done with this. I think we've talked about these movies enough.
That's all I have to say.
Look, ultimately, Art the Clown he's necessary, I think, in a sense, because we need horror icons. We need icons of cinema. And whether we like the content of his movies or not, it is inarguable that he is now an icon of cinema. He is up there with Jason Voorhees, with Freddy. He is, and this is a perfect transition to next week's episode, he is a iconic slasher villain. So, now, Jordan, I will demand of you, what is your selection for your iconic slasher villain for next week?
I'm gonna do Jason.
Jordan will
be
doing Jason Voorhees, so he will attempt to watch in a week every single Friday the 13th movie, from the first one to the last one, including the remix.
I'll try.
Of course, as previously stated, will be selecting the Halloween movies, Michael Myers. I'm going to watch all of them, including the one that doesn't have Michael Myers in it, and the new trilogy, and the bad remakes, and the Rob Zombie movies. I'm going to try and hit them all before next week. We're going to see if I can do it. That's it, everyone. That's the end of the show. Jordan, where can they find you?
I do Minecraft Mondays on Twitch as Zethcore187, and I do this.
I am on TikTok. You can find me on TikTok. The show's got a TikTok. You can follow us there. I'm working on. I'm gonna put it in the description of this later. If you want to be on the show, if you're like, hey, what they do seems fun. I want to go talk about a weird bummer movie about a sad, upsetting clown. You can do that. You can come on the show. I now have a Google Doc, a Google form that you can just fill out, send it to me, and we will get in contact with you, and you can come do this with us. We have fun most of the time. We try to have fun.
Usually.
Next week is going to be way more lighthearted, guys. A couple of movies about a couple of bros. It's gonna be
this week was a bummer, man.
Next week is going to be way more lighthearted. But with that,
also, audience, aren't you glad I had those small palate cleansers in there to really cleanse the palate,
break up how upsetting those clown movies were? But anyway, with that, we will see you next week, everybody. Have a good one. End the show.
Bye.